Chapter 1998. Holy Land outside the fallen tower. The 9 elders and Yao Wandi were gathered, waiting anxiously. Their faces were tense and solemn, and there was a suffocating feeling in the air. Even breathing could be heard clearly. They had waited for tens of thousands of epochs. They had waited so long for this opportunity. It must succeed. 7th Elder clenched his fists. No problem. Lord Lin Feng will definitely break the curse seal. 2nd Elder's face was red as he muttered to himself. If we don't succeed this time, I'm afraid we won't be able to see the rise of our green palm tree race in our lifetime. 6th Elder's face was pale. He didn't dare to imagine the consequences of witnessing the decline of the green palm tree race with his own eyes. The heavens will definitely give our green palm tree race a chance. 9th Elder was full of expectation. 1st Elder and Yao Wandi stood, staring at the center of the Holy Land without blinking. They were the strongest among the elders, and their perception was also the strongest. They held their breath. However, their hearts were burning with passion. Suddenly, it's weakened. Yao Wandi was the first to sense it, and his eyes widened in shock. The curse's power has weakened. 1st Elder seemed to have returned to his youth in an instant. He was in high spirits and showed an expression of disbelief. He suppressed the ecstasy in his heart. It's really weakened, much weaker. At this time, the other elders also sensed it, and they showed great joy one after another, unable to hide the excitement in their hearts. For tens of thousands of epochs, they had been waiting for this moment, waiting for hope. They had tried countless times, failed countless times, and almost gave up, but they still endured the pressure, shouldered the mission and responsibility of the clan, and persevered until now. Now there was finally hope. Time passed, and the elders' faces were like the sun after the rain, becoming more and more cheerful and joyful. No one spoke, and they all quietly sensed the curse's power at the center of the Holy Land, dissipating like smoke and dust, becoming weaker and weaker. Success. Lord Lin Feng has succeeded. It's true, haha, it's true. The 1st Elder was overjoyed and could not hide his excitement. He turned to look at the other elders and said, "The power of the curse has been weakened to less than 1/10 of its peak, and it is still decreasing. If there is no accident, it will be reduced to 100th in 10 days or half a month, and it will disappear within a year." That's right, I've been checking, but the curse power hasn't increased at all. Yao Wandi suppressed the joy in his heart, his eyes shining. The elders nodded their heads in agreement, grinning from ear to ear. They knew very well what this meant. The curse was gone. They could finally enter the Holy Land. Even ordinary clansmen could enter the Holy Land without being attacked by the power of the curse. As for experts like Yao Wandi, they could cultivate in the Holy Land without any distractions. Although the dark energy in the Fallen Tower was less than 1/10 of the dark energy in the center of the Holy Land, with Yao Wandi's talent, as long as he was given enough time to cultivate in the Fallen Tower, he would definitely be able to cross that threshold within 100,000 eras and become a 9-star expert. At that time, the Green Tree Tribe would rise again. "I wonder if Lord Lin Feng can undo the seal," the 3rd Elder said. "Yes, if the center of the Holy Land can be released, our Green Tree Tribe will be able to recover to its peak." The 8th Elder's eyes were bright, and his face was full of smiles. "I'm afraid this will be a little difficult," the 1st Elder said. The 2nd Elder nodded. "We have discussed before, the possibility of eliminating the curse power with the help of the Eye of Destiny is relatively high. But to break the seal, it is too difficult unless one has the ability to rank in the top 30 or even the top 20 or top 10 of the Origin Awakening list. Also, one may have to suffer a huge backlash. Lord Lin Feng should have just stepped into the 9-star realm. Not to mention that he doesn't have such strength. Even if he does, we can't expect him to help us so wholeheartedly." The elders nodded. They had discussed countless possibilities for tens of thousands of eras, so they naturally knew. The curse seal. Breaking the curse was relatively easy, but breaking the seal was too difficult. "Elders, don't worry. Yao Wandi, swear that when I become a 9-star expert in the future, I will definitely break the seal and return the glory of our green tree tribe. Yao Wandi's eyes were firm, and his fighting spirit was high. The first elder nodded with relief. Once the curse is broken, the mountain pressing on our green tree tribe has been removed, and there are no more restrictions. Everyone, don't ask for too much. This time, we have to thank Lord Lin Feng properly. Yes, without Lord Lin Feng, we don't know how many years we would have to wait. I'm afraid we won't see any hope until the day we die. Haha, it's good now. The knot in our hearts for so many years has finally been untied. It's all thanks to Lord Lin Feng. The elders whispered to each other, and they were very happy. They were already very satisfied with breaking the curse. As for breaking the seal, this was just an extravagant hope for them. Thinking about it was just thinking, but the elders knew very well how difficult it was to break the seal. At the center of the Holy Land, the source of the Holy Land, whoosh, Lin Feng stepped in, and his entire body seemed to be immersed in a boundless sea of darkness. His hair stood on end. The divine glyphs of light were completely concealed, and the demonic glyphs of darkness emitted boundless light. Hiss, hiss, his body absorbed it spontaneously. He did not even need to absorb it. The dark energy had already flowed into every part of his body. The center of the sacred ground was not small. It could even be said to be very large. However, the accumulation of dark energy over tens of thousands of epochs was terrifying. No matter how large the space was, it would be completely filled. Absorb. Lin Feng sat down cross-legged and began to cultivate. In just an instant, his body was overflowing with dark energy. However, Lin Feng's current digestion speed was no joke. The 6 paths of darkness had been completely dissected by 100,000 origin points of each path. It could be said that the dark energy no longer had any secrets. Although it had yet to be constructed, in terms of absorption, it was no less than 100,000 origin realm experts. The 6 paths of darkness were all at the 4th stage of great perfection. Their absorption speed was more than 100,000 times faster than great perfection experts. Endless dark energy was absorbed and then quickly broken down into energy in his body. Absorb again, broken down again. Pure dark energy fused into his cells and blood vessels. The demonic glyphs of darkness were dazzling. The control of darkness, the power of darkness, the bloodline of darkness, and even every single path of darkness were rapidly improving. Such an opportunity was something that Lin Feng could only come across by chance. The source of the sacred ground had already produced an extremely large amount of dark energy. The accumulation over tens of thousands of epochs was even more terrifying. It filled the entire center of the sacred ground. Right now, it was all Lin Feng's. Fortunately, the 6 paths of darkness have been completely dissected. Otherwise, who knows how long it would take to absorb so much dark energy. Lin Feng was extremely satisfied. After 10 days of absorption, he had absorbed almost half of the energy in the center of the sacred ground. The bloodline of the demonic glyphs of darkness was close to saturation. Chapter 1999. One of the 18 dangerous lands, 10,000 evil region. Evil chi filled the air, and strange beasts roamed about. This was a paradise for martial artists who cultivated the dark path. Many demon race experts liked to kill and search for treasures here because they could dig up evil items, evil ores, and so on. Hence, the exploration rate of 10,000 evil region was quite high. The opening of the chaotic void didn't affect 10,000 evil region. After all, it was on a different level. One was a place for experts above 8 stars to fight, while the other was a place for ordinary experts below 7 stars to train. But now, this dark land had welcomed a great god. Tian, Destiny Race. A group of human adventurers widened their eyes in shock as they looked at a hairless, 3-eyed weirdo. His ears were on the top of his head like antlers, and his pupils were pure white. This was the legendary Destiny Race. They had only heard of them and rarely seen them. A 9-star Destiny Race expert. The knowledgeable captain was completely stunned, and his body couldn't stop trembling. The Destiny Race expert in front of him had 9 forks in his eyes. This was a 9-star expert. Senior, Greetings, Senior. The adventurers bowed respectfully, and they were so scared that they broke out in cold sweat. Oomph. Suddenly, a soul-piercing cold snort sounded. The adventurers' eyes turned white, and they bled from their 7 orifices. They fell to the ground and died. With their strength, they couldn't resist the 9-star Destiny race expert, who specialized in souls. There was no chance of survival. Their souls were completely shattered. Lowly ants. Wu Tsong's expression was cold, and there was a trace of hatred in his eyes. Looking at these humans, he thought of the human called Lin Feng, who had humiliated him greatly. Killing these ants will only dirty my hands. Wu Tsong didn't even look at them and left. He hated humans to the core. At the center of the sacred land, where the source was, Hua Hua, endless dark energy poured in. Lin Feng absorbed the extremely dense, dark energy without restraint, and he enjoyed the joy brought about by the transformation. His life level had increased once again, and all the cells in his body were excited. According to the strength level of the universe, I should be a high-level, God-level expert now. Lin Feng was very clear about his strength level. Deity-level experts were divided into elementary, middle, and high levels. After that was deity. A low-level deity was roughly equivalent to an expert who had just entered the 9-star realm and was ranked after the 51st position on the Origin Awakening list. A mid-level deity was equivalent to an expert ranked 31 to 50, and a high-level deity was equivalent to an expert ranked 11 to 30. However, it was only a rough estimate. After all, some martial artists had a higher life order and some had stronger combat strength. It was difficult to accurately distinguish between them. For example, Lin Feng's battle prowess was relatively high. His life rating was at the beginner level, and his battle prowess was at the high level. Now that his life rating had reached the mid-tier god level, his battle prowess had naturally increased again. Pong, pong. Lin Feng's heartbeat quickened. Now that the dark Mageweth had transformed to the 4th stage, he felt very different. His perception and control of the elemental energy of darkness far exceeded that of the elemental energy of light. At this moment, even though his surroundings were completely dark and surrounded by dark energy, he could clearly see the existence of a light spot. Black specks of light. It was very unique. It was like the ultimate existence of darkness, a treasure that contained the essence of endless darkness. The source of the Holy Land. Lin Feng could sense it. It existed in this space, invisible and untouchable, just like the elemental energy of darkness. However, the same individual had a different composition. It was like one was a commoner, while the other was an emperor that ruled over the commoners. It couldn't absorb it, because it was a completely different existence from the elemental energy. It was like how a person couldn't eat a precious stone, even if the stone was priceless. However, at this moment, ding, a gentle sound seemed to resound from his body. The dark Mageweth shone brightly, and an extremely strange energy suddenly burrowed into his body, bringing with it an endless amount of dark energy. It was like a dark star, endlessly releasing vigorous energy. Lin Feng's entire body quivered, and he instantly opened his eyes in shock. It can't be. The source has been absorbed by me. Lin Feng had never thought about the source of the Holy Land. Therefore, he was somewhat stunned at this moment. He didn't expect this. Rather than saying that he had absorbed the source of the Holy Land, it was more accurate to say that the source of the Holy Land had entered his bloodline. It was extremely strange. His dark Mageweth seemed to have an additional core, a main body, and an energy source. The dark energy was endless and inexhaustible. He could even feel that the composition of the source of the Holy Land was extremely complicated. It contained the 6 paths of darkness and a combination of various source points to create an extremely strange energy. It was far beyond his current level. This was a stable individual and also a powerful existence. But for some reason, it now belonged to him. It was as if the treasure that couldn't be absorbed and devoured was now his. He put it in his pocket. Is it because of the transformation of my dark Mageweth? Or is it because I have completely analyzed the 6 paths of darkness and reached the fourth stage of the Great Perfection Realm, Lin Feng was filled with doubts. However, he didn't dwell on it anymore. Since the source of the Holy Land had entered his body and he couldn't drive it out, he just let it be. No matter what, this was an opportunity. Sizzle, sizzle, pure dark energy was produced continuously. The dark Mageweth was like a child, greedily absorbing the dark energy created by the source of the Holy Land. The absorption speed naturally couldn't compare to the accumulation of the Holy Land for tens of thousands of years. However, one had a limit, while the other had no limit. The source of the Holy Land could release an unlimited amount of dark energy for the dark Mageweth to absorb. That's not right. Lin Feng frowned slightly. The speed of the source of the Holy Land was actually quite fast. If the dark energy stored in the center of the Holy Land was continuously produced, it wouldn't take tens of thousands of years. I understand. Lin Feng instantly understood. Although the center of the Holy Land was sealed, it was a space after all, and the energy couldn't be accumulated endlessly. It would stop when it reached a limit, just like a balloon that couldn't be blown any further when it reached its limit. Otherwise, it would explode. The source of the Holy Land obviously had a certain level of spiritual consciousness, or rather, some simple consciousness. Otherwise, it wouldn't have taken the initiative to enter his dark Mageweth bloodline. I feel a little sorry for the Green Palm tribe. Lin Feng smiled helplessly. They asked him for help, but he absorbed their source of the Holy Land. It felt as if he didn't kill them, but they died because of him. Although they wouldn't notice if he left just like that, he still felt apologetic. I'll see how I can compensate them when I get out. Lin Feng nodded gently. Chapter 2000. Rip. Lin Feng directly broke the spatial seal and left the center of the sacred land. Even with the full support of the huge Eye of Destiny, he could still break open a spatial crack. Not to mention now that the huge Eye of Destiny had fallen into a deep slumber and only had less than half of its normal power left. It was too easy for Lin Feng. A 9-star attack was enough to easily break through spatial restraints. When one's power was strong enough, any restraints were useless. The huge Eye of Destiny at the center of the formation appeared in front of him again. Its aura was still faint, but it was different from before when it was hidden in the formation. The faint aura of the huge Eye of Destiny now was because it had fallen into a deep slumber and consumed a lot of power. The power of the curse has already spread. It won't be long before it disappears. But the dark energy, Lin Feng sighed slightly and felt a little apologetic. The center of the sacred land now did not live up to its name. Without its origin, the center of the sacred land was no different from the rest of the sacred land. In other words, the best cultivation place of the Green Tree tribe had been lost, and only the Fallen Tower was left. Although the sacred land's origin had been lost, the sacred land itself was still a relatively good secret realm of darkness. However, the difference in energy between an existence with and without an origin was dozens of times. A sacred land with an origin was comparable to the secret realms of space where the 5 tribes were. A sacred land without an origin was greatly reduced. Of course, compared to the secret realms of space where the 18 top tribes were, it was still much stronger. Perhaps in the future, only talented powerhouses like Yao Wandi can become 9-star powerhouses in the Green Tree tribe. Lin Feng knew the difference very well. One could make a high-grade clansman become a 9-star powerhouse, while the other could only make a top-grade clansman become a 9-star powerhouse. There was a huge difference between the two, but now that things had come to this, there was no point in haggling over it. Everything was destined. Only by eliminating the huge Eye of Destiny and breaking the curse of Destiny formation will there be no future troubles. Lin Feng stood tall and looked straight at the huge Eye of Destiny. At this time, the entire curse of Destiny formation was no longer the same as before. The curse energy did not dissipate. Only a tiny bit of it was left, and the rest was scattered away. As for the huge Eye of Destiny, it was seriously injured and had fallen into a deep slumber, causing the curse of Destiny formation to temporarily lose its effect. However, once the Eye of Destiny was restored, The cursed destiny array would be activated once more, and the power of the curse would return. It was impossible for him to stay here and protect the Green Tree Tribe forever. Since he had promised the Green Tree Tribe, he would naturally do his best. Get rid of all future troubles and restore the center of the Holy Land. In addition, release the remaining half of the dark energy in the center of the Holy Land. Take it as a small token of my appreciation. Lin Feng had already made up his mind. He could have just left without destroying the giant eye of Heaven's will. That way, he could have deceived everyone. After all, the power of the curse had been removed, and the enormous Eye of Destiny was in a deep slumber. It would take at least a few epochs for it to awaken. With the Green Tree Tribe's strength, they would at least have to wait until one of their clansmen became a 9-star powerhouse before they could enter the center of the sacred land. He left just like that, and nothing happened. By the time the Green Palm Tree Tribe found out, he had already left Origin Enlightened Continent. However, this was not his style. 1 was 1, and 2 was 2. Lin Feng had always done things in an open and above-board manner, never dragging his feet. It didn't matter even if they became enemies with the Green Tree Tribe because of this. Let's end this. Lin Feng's eyes shone brightly, and the dark demonic patterns shone brightly. The fourth stage dark demonic patterns were extremely complicated. The demonic patterns were connected and contained extreme mysteries. The origin of the Holy Land in the center of the demonic patterns released shocking energy that surged out like a tide. The fourth move, Boundless Weight. The parademonic blade was roaring, and the origin of the Holy Land was extremely excited. It was as if it was venting the emotions that had been suppressed for tens of thousands of epochs. It was the pleasure of breaking free and releasing everything. Screech. Wherever the blade went, its power was boundless. The 10,000 evil region, where the evil aura was dense. A figure teleported like a ghost. His speed was extremely fast, like a ghost. It was the 9-star expert, Wu Tsang. With his strength, not to mention the 18 heavenly danger zones, even the 3 forbidden lands were as easy as walking on flat ground. To him, there was no such thing as danger. A 9-star powerhouse was enough to laugh at Origin Enlightened Continent, not to mention Wu Tsang, who was a Destiny Tribe powerhouse. The 5 major tribes and the 8 major forces had to be wary of him. The remnants of the Green Palm Tree race really hid well. Wu Tsang had been searching for a long time in the 10,000 evil region, but he didn't find anything. He wasn't surprised. If it was so easy to find the remnants of the Green Palm Tree race, they would have eliminated them long ago. The Green Palm Tree race hid very well. If it weren't for the unusual movement this time, he wouldn't have come to search at all because he definitely wouldn't have found it. Where's the King's Blood Essence Seal? The Venerables said that the Green Palm Tree race was trying to break the Blood Essence Seal. So, there should be some movement. Did I miss it? Isn't it in this area? Or has the Green Palm Tree race stopped destroying it? Wu Tsang frowned deeply with a solemn expression. He knew very well that this was his best chance. The king was about to come out of seclusion. If he could settle this matter before the king came out of seclusion and fulfill the king's unfulfilled wish, he would definitely be rewarded and wash away his dejection. Because of Lin Feng, he was extremely disliked in the tribe. Where is it? Where are the remnants of the Green Palm Tree race hiding? Come out for me. Wu Tsang's eyes were red and filled with hatred. He gritted his teeth as he sped and killed a group of human adventurers along the way. Every time he was in a bad mood, he would kill a few humans to vent. He hated humans to the core. A bunch of lowly ants that only deserved to be slaves of the Destiny race. Wu Tsang's eyes were filled with contempt and disdain. He released his soul perception to the limit and scanned the surroundings. Suddenly, Wu Tsang opened his eyes. The bright white light was as bright as the sun, and his aura spread out like a drum. Wu Tsang stopped in place and trembled slightly, as if he had been petrified. His expression changed from solemn to stunned, and then to ecstatic. Got it. It's the king's aura. It's very weak, but it's definitely the king's aura. Ha! It's the Blood Essence Seal. I finally found the Blood Essence Seal. Wu Tsang laughed wildly and released his emotions without restraint. He was extremely excited. He seemed to see the fear on the faces of the remnants of the green palm tree race when they saw him. He saw a completely different future after he returned to the Destiny Realm and was valued by Wang Jiajuan. Soon, he would wash away his dejection and welcome a new life, a chance that belonged to him alone. Die, remnants of the green palm tree race. You have hidden for tens of thousands of years. Today you'll all die. Die in the hands of Lord Wu Tsang. Ha ha ha. Wu Tsang turned into a stream of light and sped towards the place where he sensed. His eyes were filled with killing intent, as if Shura had returned. He could not wait. Chapter 2001. Holy Land outside the Fallen Tower. The elders and Yao Wandi waited anxiously, somewhat uneasy. Although much of the cursed power had disappeared, 10 days had passed, and Lin Feng still hadn't come out of the cursed destiny formation. Could there have been an accident? What kind of terrifying danger existed in the cursed destiny formation? Or perhaps failed? Why don't we go and take a look? The second elder suggested. I'm afraid it's dangerous. Don't be so cowardly. Lord Lin Feng isn't our clansman, but he did his best to help us. How can we just stand by and watch? This isn't about staying out of it. With our strength, it's useless even if we go in. We might even be more of a hindrance. Moreover, if it's a problem that even Lord Lin Feng can't solve, we won't be able to solve it. It's been 10 days. No matter what, let's go and take a look. The elders looked at each other, each expressing their own opinions. Then, everyone looked at the first elder, waiting for his decision. Frowning slightly, the first elder said solemnly, "Everyone, don't act rashly. It's a small matter if we lose our lives, but it'll be troublesome if it affects Lord Lin Feng or the cursed destiny formation. Oh, how about this? Since the cursed power has disappeared, let's carefully approach and observe from afar to see what's happening." 10 days had passed, and the first elder was also worried. The green palm tree race wasn't the kind of people who would kick others away after they helped them. The elders of the green palm tree race were grateful and respectful to Lin Feng. Lord Lin Feng might have used too much strength and is recovering in the cursed destiny formation. The first elder slowly approached. The elders were all curious. They all wanted to know how the cursed destiny formation was doing. As for Yao Wandi, he was arranged to be at the end of the line behind the elders. After all, his safety was very important. One step. The first elder's eyes focused. He could see the familiar cursed destiny formation in the distance, but it was no longer as ferocious as before. It was like a fierce tiger that had fallen asleep. The cursed power had disappeared, and the aura of the huge Eye of Destiny was extremely weak. Success. Seeing the cursed destiny array with his own eyes, the first elder was finally relieved. Just as they had predicted, with the power of the Eye of Destiny and the help of the huge Eye of Destiny at the heart of the array, the cursed power could be broken. Of course, the best-case scenario would be that the Eye of Destiny would be heavily injured and both sides would suffer great losses. They would be able to sit back and reap the benefits. Right now, that was exactly the case. The Eye of Heavenly Mandate has suffered great damage. When the Sandpiper and the Clam fight, the heavens will not let my green tree clan go. There's hope for our race. Old Patriarch, your spirit in heaven can rest in peace. When Wan Di becomes a 9-star expert, he will be able to break free from the shackles and reappear in the center of the Holy Land. The elders were overjoyed, and some of them even shed tears. They had all come from that era, and the feeling of falling from the peak to the bottom was incomparably painful. Living required even more courage than dying. I will definitely work hard to cultivate, become a 9-star expert, and return to the center of the Holy Land. Yao Wandi clenched his fists behind the elders. He was the only one in the entire Green Tree race who had the hope of releasing the center of the Sacred Land. However, it would still take over 10,000 years. After all, the cultivation environment of the Fallen Tower and the center of the Sacred Land were worlds apart. Right at this moment, whoosh, an extremely powerful energy shockwave spread out, and the entire Sacred Land trembled violently. The terrifying energy shockwave struck directly, and the dust was stirred up by the wind, and the space was torn apart crazily. The elders hurriedly activated their defenses to block it. Fortunately, they were far away, so they were able to block it. What's going on? The cursed destiny formation. What a terrifying energy shockwave. Just as they exclaimed, another terrifying shockwave struck in an instant. The elders panicked and activated their strongest defenses, but the terrifying shockwave still pushed them back. Boom! Rumble! The entire cursed destiny formation shook violently, and the space in which it was located shattered. Spatial turbulence mixed with cracks appeared one after another, and the entire formation gradually collapsed like a ruin. What? The elders widened their eyes in shock as they looked ahead. Shocking. They couldn't believe it. Their hearts seemed to have jumped to their throats. Seeing the cursed destiny formation that suppressed their green tree race for tens of thousands of eras collapse like a mountain, the elders trembled violently. What do they see? The cursed destiny formation that suppressed and sealed their green tree race for tens of thousands of eras was gone. They were free. The heavens have eyes. This isn't a dream. It's real. We're free. We're finally free. We were still alive. This is great. The elders cried tears of joy, and many of them were already incoherent. Their faces were filled with incomparable excitement, and they smiled foolishly. Their sagging faces were like old trees that were rejuvenated, and their hearts that had been suppressed in the depths of their hearts beat again. They had endured it for far too long. They originally thought that this day would only appear after tens of thousands of eras, but they didn't expect that now. It had already appeared. Lord Linfeng, Yao Wandi muttered as he looked ahead, his eyes full of reverence. He was convinced. It's really Lord Linfeng. The great elder smiled from ear to ear. He had thought that Lord Linfeng had exhausted a great deal of his strength, or that his vitality had been greatly damaged, which was why he had not appeared for the past 10 days. Who would have thought that Lord Linfeng was actually helping them break the curse seal? The seal had been completely undone. From now on, there would be no more cursed destiny formation, cutting the weeds and eliminating the roots. On that day, our ancestor made an oath that whoever could break the heavenly fate curse formation would be the leader of our green palm tribe. The first elder's eyes exuded a fiery glow, and his tightly clenched fists trembled uncontrollably. Excitement, excitement, incomparable. At this moment, all the elders were in the same mood. Pairs of fiery eyes were looking at the cursed destiny formation, waiting for him to appear and welcome the future king of their green tree race. Suddenly, a terrifying bolt of lightning appeared behind the elders' backs. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. It was as if numerous electric snakes and venomous pythons had bitten out without any warning. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. The 3 lightning pythons pierced through the backs of the 3 elders. The 3 elders, who were originally wild with joy, widened their eyes in shock. They wanted to turn their heads away, but they were already engulfed and annihilated by the lightning energy, turning into ashes. Bang! Yao Wandi, who was at the back, was also attacked at the same time. However, he, who was stronger, managed to block it, but the price he paid was heavily injured. Poof! Yao Wandi landed heavily and looked in shock at a figure that they would recognize even if they turned into ashes. The figure had a human body, 3 eyes, 9 forked eyes, and a pair of antlers on his bald head. Every elder of the green tree race would recognize this appearance even if they turned into ashes. Kakik, a group of surviving bastards. How lively! Wutsong sneered as he held the outstanding true treasure, Black Thunder Puppet Staff. Chapter 2002. Wutsong had been in the 10,000 Evil region before. As a 9-star powerhouse and a Destiny tribe member with an extremely strong soul, his aura sensing range was extremely sensitive and vast. Not to mention, when Lin Feng broke the Destiny curse formation, the huge Destiny I fluctuated violently. The Destiny curse formation was set up by the Destiny tribe's king back then, and it was created with his blood essence. With the same bloodline, how could the Destiny tribe powerhouses not feel the king's call? No matter how deep the green tree tribe hid, it was useless. The P tribe from back, then, is only left with a couple of weaklings now. Wu Tsong's eyes were filled with contempt. Although it was only one aura, it was above all the demons with a domineering aura. 2. Two 8-star powerhouses? Wu Tsong's brows were full of disdain, and his 9 forked, white eyes flickered. There are only a few dozen 7-star powerhouses. What's the point of living after falling to such a state? You might as well kill yourselves and save me the trouble. Incomparable contempt. However, Wu Tsong had the right to look down on them. With his 9-star strength, he was like a king descending upon a city. He alone could easily slaughter the entire tribe. Tens of thousands of years ago, he was just a pawn following the king. He witnessed the king's strength with his own eyes as he defeated and destroyed the Green Tree Tribe, one of the 5 major tribes. If the 9-star powerhouse of the Green Tree Tribe hadn't risked his life to cover the retreat, it wouldn't have been as simple as sealing them. However, it wasn't too late now, because soon he would be able to complete this mission personally and destroy the last hope of the Green Tree Tribe. He didn't think the Green Tree Tribe could turn the situation around. The strongest among them had already fallen in a pool of blood. Destiny Tribe, how could this be? It's over. The elders' eyes were filled with shock and fear, and their bodies trembled. One thought to heaven, one thought to hell. A second ago, they were still immersed in incomparable joy, but the next second, they were at the end of the road, and there was no more hope. So what if the curse power was removed? So what if the center of the sacred land was released? Without their tribesmen, everything would be for naught. The foundation of a tribe was very simple, and that was their tribesmen. Let's end this. Holding the outstanding true treasure, the black thunder puppet staff, Wu Tsong's eyes were cold. Bolts of lightning rolled like a ferocious army. They roared furiously, and even the surrounding space emitted a tearing sound. He enjoyed this feeling very much. He had a supreme status and could wantonly decide the life and death of an entire race. In this place, he was the heavens. Suddenly, Peng, the spirit chi that appeared out of thin air, was like an atomic bomb, directly exploding into Wu Tsong's defensive range. The strong impact caused his heart to tremble. It was not because the attack was strong, but because this spirit chi was too clear and familiar. He would never forget it for the rest of his life. Whoosh! A blood-red ray of light transformed into a shooting star that shot over. Tens of thousands of bolts of lightning blasted out, yet they were unable to shake this blood-red ray of light in the slightest. It was like a ferocious demon that had opened its bloody mouth. Scram! Wu Tsong attacked furiously. The lightning gathered into a ball and shattered the blood-red light in an instant. A pair of white eyes were filled with anger and resentment. Amidst the explosion, the shock wave could not shake Wu Tsong at all. However, the elders of the Green Palm clan were blown away by the frenzied airflow. The entire space fell into a deathly silence. Amidst the billowing dust, a black figure holding a saber slowly arrived. Wu Tsong gritted his teeth as he looked at the figure in front of him. All of his memories surged out like a tide. That battle was extremely humiliating. He had the absolute advantage in terms of timing, location, and manpower, but he had underestimated his opponent too much. He had been beaten up by a human youth, and in the end, both sides had suffered heavy injuries. One had to know that his opponent was merely an 8-star powerhouse. What a great humiliation! After that battle, the other 5 9-star powerhouses of the Destiny tribe had vaguely isolated him. Even he himself was extremely ashamed. With his strength, if he had gone all out, how could things have ended up like this? Lin Feng. Wu Tsong's teeth were about to bleed. His eyes were blood red as he looked at the figure in front of him. The outstanding true treasure in his hand, the black thunder puppet staff, vibrated loudly, and his combat power was aroused. It's you again. Wu Tsong had never thought that the person who helped the Green Tree tribe break the Destiny Curse seal would be Lin Feng. Moreover, in less than 1,000 years, he had transformed from an 8-star to a 9-star powerhouse. Even if he broke through, he's only just crossed the threshold of 9-star. I'm prepared this time, and equipped with a soul defense true treasure. The golden fan bell is useless against me. I was able to severely injure him last time, and I could do the same this time. Kill him. A chance for revenge. Although Wu Song looked angry on the surface, his heart was extremely calm. Originally, he thought that the 9-star powerhouse who helped the Green Tree Tribe was only receiving money and would not risk his life for the Green Tree Tribe. However, he did not expect that person to be Lin Feng. The enemy of an enemy was a friend. Wu Song knew very well that Lin Feng would definitely go against the Destiny Tribe. However, even if Lin Feng was willing to leave today, he would not let Lin Feng go. You're dead today. Wu Song's eyes were like lightning as he stared at Lin Feng with a cold expression. His elite soul true treasure had already activated its strongest defense, and he stepped on the outstanding gold demon to maintain his agility. He knew Lin Feng's strength. His defense was weak, but his attack was very strong. The Destiny Tribe was weak in close combat, so he would not give Lin Feng another chance. Last time, he did not know how strong his opponent was, but this time he was very clear. By increasing the distance and suppressing Lin Feng with stronger attacks, he could easily defeat Lin Feng. Thunder and lightning rolled. Wu Song's black thunder staff had already enveloped the entire area, turning it into his own domain. The derived gold fiend even split into armor and a shield to protect itself. He raised his hand and tore the space apart, controlling an area. In terms of power, Wu Song completely suppressed Lin Feng. The surrounding Green Tree Tribe elders were shocked and terrified, but they were also nervous and grateful. They did not expect Lin Feng to stand up and help them without hesitation against the Destiny Tribe 9-star powerhouse. The Destiny Tribe was the strongest and oldest tribe in Origin Awakened Continent. They were just friends with Lin Feng. Although they had feelings for him, it was not worth mentioning compared to the threat of the Destiny Tribe. With Lin Feng's strength, he could just leave and ignore them. They believed that the Destiny Tribe powerhouse would not stop him. However, Lin Feng stayed. He helped them fight against the Destiny Tribe powerhouse and preserve the last hope of the Green Tree Tribe. The elders wanted to shout for Lin Feng to leave, but they could not. They knew that once Lin Feng left, the Green Tree Tribe would truly be at the end of their rope. They would lose even their last hope. We have to win. We have to win. All the elders were shouting in their hearts. They knew that Lin Feng's chances of winning were very small. One had just entered the 9-star threshold, while the other had been famous for a long time and was a Destiny Tribe powerhouse. They were both 9-star powerhouses, but the difference in strength could be huge. However, they could only hope for now. They hoped for a miracle to happen. Swoosh! Lin Feng moved, tugging at the hearts of every single elder who was perturbed. Chapter 2003. The previous battle was still vivid in his mind. Lin Feng knew that the reason why he was able to severely injure Wu Song last time was partly due to luck. At that time, he was only an 8-star expert and didn't even have an outstanding treasure. He even barely comprehended the saber's mastery realm during the battle. Even the 1,000 obscuring heavenly blade had only cultivated the first move, ashes to ashes. There was a world of difference between his combat power and now. Whoosh! Lin Feng felt as if he was in darkness. The demonic patterns flashed and were extremely demonic. The 4th stage demonic patterns were extremely complicated and had a strong accumulation. Especially after fusing with the source of the Holy Land, it was even more refined. Holding the demonic Perak blade, Lin Feng's warm wings flapped behind him, messing up the space. Although he was suppressed in Wu Song's thunder domain, he was fearless. Lin Feng didn't use the Brahma domain because there was no need. The warm wings were enough to prevent him from being affected by the domain. As for dealing with Wu Song, an elite treasure weapon, the demonic Perak blade was enough. He didn't need to absorb blood to strengthen the weapon. Even without the advantage of the weapon, Lin Feng was much stronger than before. Once the 99% Saber's mastery realm was used, the entire area changed. A true 9-star level power. Dingshan, Sanya, this level of power. Wu Song, he was only ranked 65th on the Origin Awakening list. Even the weakest of the Milky Way's human tribe, Suin, was ranked 54th on the Origin Awakening list, which was enough to defeat Wu Tsang easily. The difference of 10 places was already huge, not to mention Lin Feng's current strength, which was comparable to Shi Dingshan. Shi Dingshan was a transcendent being ranked 25th on the Origin Awakening list. The difference of 40 places was like the difference between a 9-star expert and an 8-star expert. It was unreachable. The first move of the 1,000 obscuring heavenly blade, ashes to ashes. It was an extremely fast move. The speed of the blade was complemented by extremely strong dark energy. Before the person arrived, the blade had already arrived. The demonic patterns shone brightly, and endless dark energy surged out from the source of the Holy Land. The attack power was as huge as a tide. What? Wu Tsang's expression changed drastically. The thunder and lightning domain of the outstanding true treasure, the Black Thunder Puppet Staff, could not stop Lin Feng at all. All the thunder and lightning seemed to have been split apart by this strike of the saber and turned into ashes. Chi! Wu Tsang quickly retreated and pulled apart the distance between them. Wu Tsang instantly executed his strongest killing move, Myriad Lightning Annihilation. 10,000 bolts of heavenly lightning bombarded towards Lin Feng. However, in the next instant, Lin Feng's saber appeared out of thin air and devoured everything. The entire space was in chaos as a black figure appeared in front of Wu Tsang. The supreme black devil blade pressed down on him like a king descending upon the world. It was as if the sky had collapsed, causing him to be unable to breathe. Boom! The lightning radiance was dispersed once again. The armor on Wu Tsang's body that was transformed from derived gold specter shook violently. Pung! This is impossible. Even his original armor cracked. Wu Tsang's eyes were filled with disbelief. His speed was fast enough, but it couldn't compare to the speed of Lin Feng's blade. Amidst the rumbling sound, Wu Tsang spat out a mouthful of blood. His heart was filled with boundless shock and fear, and he hurriedly retreated. How can he be so fast? Wu Tsang didn't understand at all because his cultivation level was too low. He, who only relied on his talent, didn't understand what suppression was. So what if he was fast? When the power was strong enough, even the speed of light could be suppressed to the speed of sound. Run! Wu Tsang's face was pale. At that moment, he no longer had any thoughts of revenge. In order to take revenge, he had specially prepared soul defense treasures and stronger armor. However, at that moment, he realized that everything he had done was useless. His opponent was too strong. How can his attack power be stronger than Ergu's? The derived gold specter under Wu Tsang's feet turned into a ray of golden light, displaying the power of an outstanding treasure. He escaped at his fastest speed, and rays of golden flowing light flashed around his body to protect him. Behind him, the space continued to shatter and become chaotic. Wu Tsang's attainments in space weren't weak, and his ability to escape was top-notch. However, the person he had encountered this time was Lin Feng. The Tao of light speed, Tao of dark matter, and 100,000 source points were all analyzed. He was at the third stage of complete realm. In terms of understanding of speed in the entire Origin continent, there was probably no one who could surpass Lin Feng. Moreover, it wasn't a matter of speed. It was the difference in power and ability. Die! The Parak demon blade revealed its ferocity. The source of the sacred land seemed to have sensed it and released its dark power. Lin Feng's blade seemed to be crying. It seemed to be crying for Wu Tsang's death, but it also seemed to be crying for the source of the sacred land. Boom! The Parak demon blade slashed across Wu Tsang's fragile body and killed him. No! Wu Tsang screamed hysterically. His fearful and unwilling eyes were filled with hatred. Lin Feng, go to hell with me. Bang! The strongest talent of the Destiny race, Death's Soul Shock. The Death Soul Shock of a 9-star expert was terrifying. It was enough to kill a 9-star expert. If it were Shi Dingshan or Sangya, they would definitely die. Even the clan leader, Dong Huang, would probably be severely injured. However, Wu Tsang's Death Soul Shock was the nemesis of the Destiny race. He was Lin Feng, who had killed countless powerhouses of the Destiny race. Poof! The Death Soul shock hit the tens of thousands of Origin mustard stones. It was no different from the attacks of other 7-star and 8-star experts. It was like a slightly larger stone being thrown into a lake. It only caused bigger waves and ripples and lasted a little longer. However, the lake itself was unscathed. It's useless. Lin Feng looked at Wu Tsang, whose eyes were filled with unwillingness and shock. His life force had completely disappeared. With a casual slash, the Peric Demon Blade cut off his last bit of life force and took away the 9-star Destiny Eye. Whoosh! Lin Feng put away all of Wu Tsang's treasures. 2 outstanding treasures. The Destiny race is indeed rich. Lin Feng nodded with satisfaction. Many 9-star experts didn't even have an outstanding treasure. Wu Tsang was only ranked 65th on the Origin Awakening list, but he had 2. The wealth and power of the Destiny race was obvious. On the side, the elders of the Green Tree race and Yao Wandi were all dumbfounded. Their eyes were wide open, and their mouths were open. Won? He actually won? How'd he win? They saw the arrogant Destiny race expert flee in panic under Lin Feng's attack. He roared like an injured beast, and his voice was filled with fear. In just a few blinks of an eye, the arrogant Destiny race expert was beheaded in 2 or 3 moves. He was killed with a single slash. The elders looked at Lin Feng as if they were looking at a monster. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, they wouldn't have believed what they were seeing. A human expert who had just entered the 9-star realm had easily killed a powerful Destiny race expert, like cutting tofu. They originally thought that the difference in strength between the two was huge. If Lin Feng wanted to win and their Green Tree race to survive, they could only rely on a miracle. But they were wrong, very wrong. The difference is too big. The elders sighed inwardly. It wasn't that the Destiny race expert was weak, but this human youth, Lin Feng, who had wandered the Green Tree domain, too powerful. Chapter 2004. The calmest one was Lin Feng. With his current strength, killing Wu Tsang was a piece of cake. In fact, there were many 9-star experts who could kill Wu Tsang, but they were wary of the Destiny race's strength and were afraid of the Destiny race's revenge. Secondly, they were wary of the Destiny race's innate ability, Death Spiritual Shock. Therefore, even though the Destiny race was few in number, there were very few who dared to kill them, because the price to pay for killing a Destiny race expert was huge. Lord Lin Feng. Thank you, Lord Lin Feng, for your help. We can't thank you enough. The elders of the Green Tree race, including the seriously injured Yao Wandi, struggled to get up and bowed respectfully. Before the battle with Wu Tsang, they were surprised that Lin Feng had risen to 9-star level, but their impression was still the day when Lin Feng entered the Green Tree domain. It was normal that they couldn't change immediately, but now they were completely convinced. Although Lin Feng's strength was not as strong as their former clan leader, there were already signs of it. With his talent and aptitude, if he continued to cultivate, it could be said that he would definitely become an ambitious and ruthless character like their former clan leader. Killing Wu Tsang had completely convinced the elders of the Green Tree race. Elders, there is no need to be so polite. It's a small matter. Lin Feng smiled. It's a small matter to you, but to us, it's a big matter. The first elder still had lingering fear. If Lin Feng hadn't helped today, the Green Tree race would probably not exist in Origin Awakened Continent. They had almost been exterminated. Even if some of their clansmen could escape, they would only be struggling at death's door without any chance to rise again. Lord, you have given the Green Tree race a new lease of life. Please accept our bow. The second elder's voice was choked with emotion. He bowed again with the other elders from the bottom of his heart. Lin Feng smiled bitterly and accepted. He could completely understand the feelings of the elders at this moment, and he could empathize with them. There is something I have to tell you. Lin Feng struck while the iron was hot and told them about the Destiny Curse formation and the fusion of the Sacred Land's origin. No matter what, the elders of the Green Tree race had the right to know. What? The source of the Holy Land is gone. How could this be? Hearing this, the elders were dumbstruck. They staggered, and some even fell to the ground. The source of the Holy Land was too important to them. It was the core of their race. It was the hope for their rise. But now, everything had become nothing. Heaven's will, heaven's will. The first elder let out a long sigh, as if he had aged several dozen eras. Perhaps this is the punishment the heavens have given to our green tree tribe. Our green tree race has always killed too many people. The great elder lowered his head slightly. His eyes were filled with vicissitudes of life. He had fought side by side with the clan leader since the very beginning. The rise of the Green Palm clan was accompanied by endless slaughter. They gradually became one of the 5 major clans through blood and battle. Lord Linfeng, there is no need for you to blame yourself. We have no intention of blaming you. The great elder said to Linfeng, this is the Holy Land's source's own choice. In the end, this matter is related to me. Linfeng said apologetically. The great elder let out a long sigh and said, everything is heaven's will. Perhaps the Holy Land source is grateful to Lord Linfeng for helping us out of trouble. Or perhaps the Holy Land source is entrusted to Lord Linfeng to avenge us. No matter what, Lord Linfeng's life-saving grace to our race is irreplaceable. Without Lord Linfeng, there would be no green tree race. Our corpses will be cold now. How can we talk about the Holy Land source? The third elder nodded and said, that's right. If we are killed, the Holy Land source will also fall into the hands of the Destiny race. If our ancestors are in the heavens, I'm afraid they will be angered to death by our disappointing juniors. The seventh elder said, a peck and a drink. The green tree race is unable to repay Lord Linfeng's kindness, but the Holy Land source has repaid it for us. Lord Linfeng need not feel guilty. Now that the power of the curse has disappeared, although the Holy Land source does not have a Holy Land source, it still has a good cultivation effect. Our clansmen can now enter it. Yao Wandi clutched his injured chest, his eyes bright. In time, Wandi will become an unparalleled powerhouse like Lord Linfeng. The elders of the Green Tree race were still very sensible to win people over with virtue. Especially when Linfeng killed Wu Tsang just now, the impact on the elders was too great. What was done could not be undone. Instead of becoming enemies with such a powerhouse, it was better to treat him with kindness. The elders were not stupid. They could completely see Linfeng's character. He could hide this matter or not help them break the formation and reappear in the center of the Holy Land. They would not know. Linfeng could even lie, for example, the Holy Land source was swallowed by the curse formation and disappeared, etc., and stay out of it. But Linfeng did not do that. This kind of character made the elders admire him even more. If the Holy Land source was gone, then it was gone. Since it had been created, there was no need to investigate further. Everything was fated. If they returned to the Holy Land, they could still continue to cultivate, especially since there was still a lot of dark energy in the center of the Holy Land. It could help Yao Wandi quickly increase his strength, and he might be able to reach 9-star in less than tens of thousands of eras. As long as a race had a 9-star powerhouse, there would be unlimited hope. Back then, the Green Tree race could rise, and it was also possible in the future. As long as they were still alive, there was hope. Destiny World. Sizzle, sizzle, in a unique spatial region. There were broken and torn spatial fragments all around. Countless spatial turbulence intertwined, as if it was the center of a map that controlled the entire Destiny World. Upon closer inspection, it was glowing with purple-red light, like a huge Eye of Destiny. In the center of the huge Eye of Destiny, there was a handsome Destiny race youth sitting cross-legged, shrouded in layers of spatial turbulence. His body was invisibly emitting a terrifying aura, and his power was monstrous. Beside him, a Destiny race powerhouse with a string of Buddhist beads around his neck was standing respectfully with his palms together. It was the venerable that Wu Tsang, Wu Arai, and the others respected and respected. Whoosh! The Destiny race powerhouse's handsome face revealed a hint of loftiness. The purple-red Eye of Destiny on his forehead opened, causing the surrounding spatial turbulence to disperse. He roared angrily, "Damned bastard! "What's wrong, king?" Venerable Buddha Beads asked. "Oomph." The youth with the purple-red eye of destiny was filled with anger. "A bastard human broke my essence blood array, and even Wu Tsang was killed." "Wu Tsang is dead." Venerable Buddha Beads was stunned. "What about the human?" The youth with the purple-red eye of destiny frowned. "He won't die. His soul defense is very strong." "Don't be angry, king." Venerable Buddha Beads put his palms together and said respectfully, "Those who achieve great things don't care about trifles. Your decision that day was correct. As long as you cross this threshold, no one in the Origin Awakened continent will be your match." "That's right." The youth with the purple-red eye of destiny opened his hands, and his aura was monstrous. "When I was young, my aptitude was at its peak. It won't be long before I can break out of seclusion. At that time, no one in the entire Origin Awakened continent will be my match. The Destiny race will rule the world." Chapter 2005. The Green Palm Field was in an uproar. The entire clan was filled with a cheerful atmosphere. Every clansman's face was glowing, unable to contain their joy. Holed up in this land, unable to see the sun all year round, they finally ushered in hope and a new life. It's all thanks to Lord Lin Feng. Lord Lin Feng is really our Green Palm Field's great benefactor. Our Green Palm Field wins people over with virtue. God finally pitied us and sent Lord Lin Feng to save us. Without Lord Lin Feng, there would be no Green Palm Field. I heard from my father that our ancestors had set up a clan rule. When the curse is broken and the glory of the Holy Land is restored, it will be the day of a new clan leader. Although Lord Lin Feng is not one of our clansmen, if Lord Lin Feng is willing to take over the position of clan leader, I will raise both hands in approval. I also agree. Lord Lin Feng is fully deserving of the position. With the return of the center of the Holy Land and the return of darkness to the Green Palm Field, the Grand Elder announced this joyous event and even solemnly introduced the Green Palm Field's great benefactor, Lin Feng, to all the clansmen. At this time, Lin Feng's reputation was unparalleled. It could be said that no one in the entire Green Palm Field objected and was incomparably supportive. "This is everyone's wish, Lord Lin Feng. Please accept it." The Grand Elder tried his best to persuade. Lin Feng smiled and said, "Grand Elder, you're exaggerating. I've already said before that the position of clan leader is not suitable for me. You should choose someone else. I belong to the Milky Way's human tribe, so it's impossible for me to join the Green Palm Field. Moreover, I'm a human after all, not a demon." Originally, Lin Feng was prepared to leave after killing Wu Tsang, but it was difficult to refuse such hospitality, so he stayed for a few more days. These few days, the elders took turns to persuade Lin Feng many times, hoping that he would take over the position of clan leader and lead the clan. Lin Feng was also helpless. How could he, a human, lead the Green Palm Field? Moreover, he was alone and free. Dragging a clan behind him could be said to be obstructed at every step. Moreover, his time in Origin Awakened continent was not long, and he would soon leave and return to the Milky Way. No matter what the reason was, it was impossible for him to take over the position of Patriarch. "Lord Lin Feng, you don't need to worry about any problems. The Elder Hall can handle the internal affairs of the clan. Lord, you only need to be in name. Of course, your authority is still supreme." The second elder also advised, "That's right, my lord. This is the clan rule set down by our ancestor back then. It's only beneficial to my lord." Third elder said, "As long as your excellency takes over the position of patriarch, my Green Palm clan is willing to go through water and tread on fire for your excellency, and we won't hesitate." Lin Feng smiled bitterly. However, the elders were still unwilling to give up and kept trying to persuade him. However, he really didn't have such thoughts. What's more, once he took over the position of patriarch, it was impossible for him to just enjoy the power and status without paying anything. It was not an easy task to carry the entire race on his shoulders. "If you insist on persuading me, I'm leaving." Lin Feng pretended to be displeased. The elders immediately shut their mouths and looked at each other helplessly. The position of patriarch was something that others could only dream of But Lord Linfeng was stubborn and refused to accept it no matter what. Sigh, if that's the case, we've really let our ancestor down. The first elder sighed. Linfeng said, our ancestor set this rule back then because he hoped that someone could save our race from this crisis. In his heart, he still hoped that the Green Palm clan would take over the position of patriarch. I've helped you and taken the sacred land origin. We don't owe each other anything, so there's no need for you to feel guilty. If the Green Palm clan is in trouble in the future, I won't refuse if I can help. The elders had worried looks on their faces. However, no matter what, they couldn't force Linfeng. Moreover, Linfeng was telling the truth. No matter which race it was, they all hoped that their clansmen would take over the position of patriarch. After all, a race was a race, and it was different from a faction. Since your excellency has made up your mind, we can only give up. The first elder sighed softly, but if that's the case, we've indeed let our ancestor down. Our Green Palm clan subdues people with virtue, and we're unable to repay your excellency's great kindness. Whoosh! A shocking aura instantly appeared. It was a pitch-black light that stood tall like a stone pillar. It was completely black, as if it was made of perfect black gemstones. Its aura was no weaker than warm wings. This black skeleton is a weapon left behind by our ancestor. Please accept it, Lord Linfeng. The first elder handed it over with both hands. Please accept it, Your Excellency. The elders bowed their heads. It was as if they wouldn't accept it if Linfeng didn't accept it. Although Linfeng wasn't a wishy-washy person, he already felt sorry for accidentally absorbing the sacred land origin. Taking another treasure didn't seem very good. However, he also knew that even though killing Wu Tsang was a small matter to him, it was the same as giving the Green Palm clan a new lease on life. After all, the Green Palm clan would be done for if he didn't do it this time. Therefore, he understood the Green Palm clan elder's intentions. All right, then I'll accept it shamelessly. Linfeng pondered for a while, and then took the ancestral weapon, Black Skeleton. His tentacles throbbed intensely. It was a feeling of resonance from the bloodline in his body. This was a dark-type weapon. It was natural. After all, the original owner of this weapon, Black Skeleton, was the patriarch of the Green Palm clan. What a strange weapon. Linfeng held it in his hand and felt inexplicably comfortable. However, this was a stick-like weapon and didn't really suit him. Regardless, it was at least an outstanding treasure comparable to Warm Wings. It was enough to become a clan's most precious treasure. Seeing Linfeng accept it, the elders smiled. They couldn't fulfill the rules set by their ancestor. If Linfeng didn't even accept the weapon Black Skeleton, they really wouldn't have the face to face their ancestor. Your Excellency, are you going to the chaotic void next? Yao Wandi suddenly asked. Linfeng nodded. He had mentioned it to the first elder before. Yao Wandi's eyes lit up. Wandi has an unexpected request. Can Your Excellency take me with you? Linfeng was slightly surprised. Yao Wandi's eyes shone. I've heard that the chaotic void is a place where experts compete and rise. There are many who have obtained the opportunity to become 9-star experts. Wandi wants to give it a try. Wandi, do you know that the chaotic void is very dangerous? The third elder asked. Yes, Wandi. With your talent, as long as you cultivate step by step, it's only a matter of time before you become a 9-star expert, even without the origin of the Holy Land, the sixth elder advised. Yao Wandi said, I can't wait a moment longer. The elders sighed inwardly. They knew his character. He was deeply shocked by Linfeng's strength and yearned for it. The flowers cultivated in the garden are far less tenacious than the flowers on the prairie. Wandi, we are very pleased that you have such a heart, the first elder said. However, you need a key to enter the chaotic void. There isn't a single one outside. Huh? Yao Wandi was stunned. The fire in his heart was extinguished. The second elder said, even if there is, we can't afford it. It is said that the last key to the void gate is close to 2 billion void crystals. Yao Wandi's eyes widened, completely stunned. Close to 2 billion void crystals. In an instant, Yao Wandi hung his head dejectedly like a defeated bull. Although the clan had accumulated resources for tens of thousands of eras, they only had about 1 billion void crystals. It wasn't enough to give him all of it. Do you really want to go to the chaotic void? Suddenly, a voice sounded. Chapter 2006. The voice came from Lin Feng. Looking at the stunned Yao Wandi and the elders, Lin Feng smiled and said, "It's okay. If you want to go, I'll take you there. Anyway, I happen to have an extra key here." Previously, the three Blood Might brothers wanted to kill him, but were killed by him instead. It just so happened that he had an extra key to the Void Gate. Patriarch Dongwang had already prepared the keys for the 9-star powerhouses of the Milky Way human tribe. He even had a lot of them, so Lin Feng had been keeping them. He originally planned to exchange them for contribution points, but since Yao Wandi wanted to go to the turbulent void, he would give them to him. After all, he didn't like to owe others favors. The price of an outstanding treasure was much more expensive than a key. "Are you serious, Sir Lin Feng?" Yao Wandi was excited. He was already in despair, but now there was hope again. He had always heard of the legends of the turbulent void, but he had never seen it before. Lin Feng directly took out the key to the Void Gate and handed it to Yao Wandi. "With this key, you can open the Void Gate and enter the turbulent void. Do you know the exact location?" Yao Wandi took the key in a daze and shook his head. Lin Feng smiled. "Since the matter here is over, I'll take you there," Lin Feng said, "but you have to think carefully. That place is no joke. The death rate of an 8-star powerhouse is quite high." The elders changed when they heard this. Yao Wandi was the hope of the Green Palm tribe. If he died in the turbulent void, what would they do? "Why don't you wait for the next time, Wandi?" The great elder advised. Now that the center of the Holy Land has just been restored, there is a large amount of dark energy remaining. At this time, cultivation will be twice the result with half the effort. On the other hand, entering the turbulent void will be dangerous. "Great Elder, there is no need to persuade me anymore. Wandi has already made up his mind." Yao Wandi looked at Lin Feng with bright eyes. "After seeing Sir Lin Feng's strength, if I still look at the sky from the bottom of a well, then I'm being arrogant. If I cultivate step by step, even if I break through to 9-star, it will be just an ordinary breakthrough. I want to become a peerless expert like Lord Lin Feng, an expert who can easily kill the destined race. What the race wants isn't an ordinary 9-star expert, but a super expert who can stand on his own and fight against the destiny race." Landing on the ground, Yao Wandi's face was solemn. The battle with Wutsong of the Destiny tribe had allowed him to see things clearly. 9-star strong practitioners also had great disparities in strength. When he became a 9-star in the future, it was still unknown whether he would be stronger than Wutsong. So what if his strength was comparable to Wutsong's? In front of Lord Lin Feng, he couldn't even block 3 slashes. He, Yao Wandi, was not inferior to his ancestor in terms of talent. He was definitely not willing to be mediocre. He wanted to become an expert like Lord Lin Feng. "Your enemy is the strongest clan in the Origin Awakened continent, the Destiny clan," Lin Feng said to Yao Wandi. "If you can't match the Destiny clan, even if you break the curse seal, you will still have to hide underground and never see the light of day, forever suppressed by the Destiny clan. The strength of the race is the true curse seal." Yao Wandi nodded heavily. The elders didn't say anything, but they also knew that what Lin Feng said was true. Now, they had indeed broken the curse seal, but so what? Did they dare to go out and leave the Green Palm domain? They didn't dare. Once they showed up with the methods of the Destiny clan, they would be killed quickly and eliminated by the roots. Even if the Holy Land Zhongyuan was still there, relying on tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of years to become stronger, it was still unknown whether they could compare to their peak. Back then, they were almost exterminated. "It's good to bear some pressure," Lin Feng said. "Whether it's a goal or a responsibility, fight with this heart. As long as you keep moving forward, one day you will realize that this is no longer difficult for you. Everything will be solved." Lin Feng smiled and glanced at Yao Wandi, his eyes shining brightly as he looked into the distance. He secretly clenched his fists, his heart as firm as a blade. Under the warm hospitality of the elders and Green Palm race, Lin Feng had no choice to stay for a few more days. On the other hand, he wanted to ensure that there were no other Destiny Clan members. Lin Feng helped to the end. He didn't want the Green Palm race to be found and exterminated by the Destiny Clan. Last time, an ancestor used a forbidden art to cover the retreat, but this time there was no such thing. Actually, it's a good thing that the Holy Land Zhongyuan is gone. The Great Elder sighed softly. There are gains and losses. At least we won't be discovered by the Destiny Clan here. Lin Feng laughed. That's true. If the Holy Land Zhongyuan was still there, a large amount of dark energy would pour out and fill the Green Palm domain with energy and affect the 10,000 evil realm. It was fine in the short term, but after a long time, there would be a small difference. This small difference would be the root of the race's lifeline. The Destiny Clan had extremely strong soul senses. If they really wanted to search, they could use the source of dark energy to find the Green Palm domain. However, it was very difficult to find it now. Wait for me to return, elders. Yao Wandi's expression was serious as he bid farewell to the elders. I will definitely become a 9-star expert in the chaotic void and protect the Green Palm race. Take care of yourself. Don't try to be brave. Don't be reckless and impulsive. Listen to Lord Lin Feng. The elders reminded him repeatedly. Although they were reluctant, they knew that this was the best path for Yao Wandi and the Green Palm race. After all, Yao Wandi was equal to the Green Palm race now. Let's go. Lin Feng glanced at the elders and said to Yao Wandi. They looked at him as if they were looking at their former selves. They left the Green Palm domain. Lin Feng swept through the 10,000 evil realm. After confirming that there were no Destiny Clan experts, he continued his journey to the most powerful and mysterious chaotic void in Origin Awakened Continent. That place was the core of the entire wandering planet. There was a great secret there. There were endless treasures and countless opportunities. Countless experts had fallen there, but there were also countless experts who had risen there. This was the highest level of training. Above it was the Heaven Realm, and below it was the Death Prison. I heard that the chaotic void is made up of countless spatial secret realms. Is that right, my lord? Yao Wani asked curiously. Lin Feng nodded. One crystal, one world. The chaotic void is a huge magnetic field. The spatial secret realms are like particles in the magnetic field. They collide, attract, and even merge to form the chaotic void. Every spatial secret realm is the basic composition of the chaotic void. Open the void door and you can enter the small spatial secret realms and then enter the true chaotic void. Slowing down, Lin Feng looked at the place in front of him where mountains were collapsing and the spatial magnetic field was fluctuating violently. His eyes were bright. Although this is my first time here, I think we should be here. Chapter 2007. The spatial energy was extremely messy. From afar, it looked like a collapsing star, constantly combining and splitting. In fact, it was a phenomenon formed by spatial fragments. With the turbulent void as the core, a huge magnetic field controlled everything. So magical. Yao Wandi couldn't take his eyes off it. Indeed, Lin Feng was also watching. Every spatial change had a certain pattern. He could feel it, but he couldn't understand it at all. Lin Feng knew very well that this was because his spatial attainments were too weak. The entire Origin Awakened Continent, or rather, the Wandering Planet, had extremely rich spatial energy, far surpassing the same level of time energy. As the core of Origin Awakened Continent, the turbulent void was naturally the source. So, this is the turbulent void. Lin Feng sighed. A void world formed by countless turbulent voids, pure spatial energy, and countless spatial secret realms. No wonder a powerful race like the Destiny race was born. He didn't know much about the turbulent void, but he knew much more than Yao Wandi. After all, Patriarch Dong Huang and Deputy Patriarch Shi Dingshan had both entered the turbulent void and had rich experience. Let's go, Wandi. We'll find a spatial secret realm to enter first, Lin Feng said. Yes, Lord Lin Feng, Yao Wandi said. Lin Feng said helplessly, Don't call me Lord. You and I are of the same generation. This is not good, Lord. Yao Wandi seemed hesitant. If you call me Lord again, I'm leaving. Okay. Yao Wani was a bit reserved. After all, Lin Feng's strength was there, and calling him Lord was a matter of course. However, Lin Feng didn't want to be too ostentatious. For a peak 8-star expert to call him Lord all the way, like a follower, was really high profile. They stepped into the turbulent void. Chi, chi. Streams of turbulent voids streaked past, shattering and solidifying space. Spatial profound intent could be seen everywhere. If one wanted to comprehend the spatial laws, it was undoubtedly an excellent opportunity to observe the true essence of the laws at close range. However, the turbulent void only opened once every 10,000 eras, and the duration was extremely short. If you had to rely on this method to comprehend the space laws, it would be a waste. Moreover, entering the turbulent void was still quite dangerous. Many offensive spatial laws would suddenly be used, such as spatial strangulation, spatial extinction, spatial devouring, and so on. Normally, only 7-star martial artists could withstand it. Therefore, in order to enter the void turbulence, one's basic strength must be at least 7 stars. Otherwise, he wouldn't even be able to enter the door. The threat from the outside is the least. Entering a small space secret realm with a key is so dangerous that even a peak 8-star expert might die. Generally, 7-star experts have a high mortality rate. Although you are at the pinnacle of 8-star, you can't be careless. Lin Feng sped through the turbulent void. His wings of warmth flapped, creating a chaotic space. He was not affected by the region at all. Yao Wani followed closely behind, carefully looking around and listening attentively. He was extremely respectful towards Lord Lin Feng. Brother, Lin, what are we looking for now? Yao Wani's voice was still somewhat reserved. Let's find a slightly bigger spatial secret realm. Lin Feng did not even turn his head back as he sped forward. The surrounding space was filled with chaotic streams of space, and he was like a meteor flying through the air. The entire void was scattered like stars, and there were countless stars in the sky. I don't understand, Yao Wani said. Is a small space secret realm different from a big space secret realm? Very different, Lin Feng replied. The space energy is different, the danger is different, and the opportunities are different. The possibility of entering the depths is also different. Let's put it this way. You can think of the turbulent void as a pyramid. The lowest level is the crystal world. One crystal, one world. The void crystals are the product of the turbulent void. Each void crystal contains a space. When a large number of void crystals are combined, they form a space, and this space is the small space secret realm, which is also the bottom of the turbulent void pyramid. Every small space secret realm, under the influence of the turbulent void magnetic field, will exhibit irregular movements. It may collide with other small space secret realms, attract them, or fuse with them. Over the countless years, there will always be some fused space secret realms that slowly grow stronger. The space energy, area, and so on will all exhibit an abnormal state, reaching a certain threshold or a critical point. When it reaches a critical point, it will be able to resist the magnetic field and form a stable space, which we call the void danger zone. This is the middle section of the pyramid. There are not many void danger zones like this, only 7 in total. Each of them is tens of thousands of times bigger than a small space secret realm and contains countless treasures. Yao Wani nodded thoughtfully. I understand now. Lin Feng continued. The void danger zones have reached a critical point, so they have the ability to attract. A part of the space magnetic field can attract some space secret realms and fuse with them, turning them into a part of themselves to replenish the energy consumed. Our goal is naturally the void danger zone, so the bigger the space secret realm we enter, the better. The bigger it is, the more attractive it will be, and the easier it will be to enter the void danger zone. Saying so, Lin Feng stopped. His eyes brightened as he looked ahead, muttering to himself, "This area is not bad, and the space energy is abundant, much better than any of the previous ones. No hurry, let's take a look." Having missed the best time to enter, Lin Feng was not in a hurry. 500 years had passed, so why would he care about such a small amount of time? Right now, he had to find the largest space secret realm. After all, if one's luck was bad, there would be a void danger zone that could not be found for thousands of years. Day after day, day after day, Lin Feng carefully sifted through the space secret realms. If not 10,000, there were at least 8 or 9,000. Of course, there were some that were repeated, but he would not know if he did not enter. But to enter, he would need to use a void door key. Brother Lin, is this still not enough? Yao Wandi pointed ahead. It can be bigger. Having seen so many space secret realms, Lin Feng was much more experienced. What about this, Brother Lin? It's not as big as the one you found before. With a high soul level, Lin Feng could easily sense it. Just from the amount of space energy, he could determine the size of the space secret realm. After all, the space energy here was of the same level. He searched for 3 months. There were more than 100,000 space secret realms. This is it. Lin Feng stared ahead and took out the void door key. Behind him, Yao Wandi was already impatient, eager to give it a try. Z. As soon as the key to the void gate was taken out, it connected with the space secret realm in front of it. It was as if the two poles of a magnet had met in an instant, and a huge void gate vaguely appeared in the space. Gotcha! It was like the sound of a door opening, but also like the secret realm being cut open. I'll go first. See you inside. Lin Feng said to Yao Wandi. Each void door key could only lead one void door. Once the person entered, the void door would disappear. Okay, Brother Lin. Yao Wandi nodded. Chapter 2008. Swish. It was as if he had stepped through space and entered a new world. It felt as if he had entered a space mezzanine. The endless space airflow was rolling like thunder, and the turbulent space energy was constantly tearing space apart. Meteors could be seen in the distance. This is not a meteor. Lin Feng smiled faintly. It looked like a meteor, but it was other space secret realms that were affected by the magnetic field of the void turbulence. It was just that the distance was extremely far, so it looked like a meteor. Hundreds of thousands of space secret realms were like marbles, constantly changing in the huge void turbulence. The space energy here is almost equivalent to the inner region of the Destiny realm. Lin Feng could clearly feel the jumping space elements and couldn't help but sigh. The Destiny realm was already the top cultivation place of the Origin Awakened continent, and the turbulent void was even better than it. Right now, he was only in a small space secret realm. Further in the depths of the turbulent void, the space elements were naturally denser, and the space laws were stronger. The core of a wandering planet is indeed extraordinary. Lin Feng nodded. Only such a wonderful place could give birth to countless experts and treasures. Every time it opened, the experts of the entire Origin Awakened continent would flock to it. Hua in his hand, the huge void gate key reappeared. Opening the void gate generally didn't consume the key. Therefore, the experts who survived the last time the turbulent void opened didn't need to look for or buy the key again. He might even be able to bring back more keys. However, entering the void impasse will consume the key. Lin Feng was very clear about this. Previously, when he was alone, his information was a little outdated. After joining the Milky Way human clan, he was clear about a lot of information. After all, the experts of the clan had entered the turbulent void too many times. The essence of the key was the unique energy of the turbulent void. Opening an ordinary void gate didn't consume much energy. In the turbulent void, the energy of the key could be replenished and wouldn't be consumed. However, to enter the 7 Great Void Impasse, it would consume a lot of energy, exceeding the load of the key. To enter, the energy of the key itself must be fully activated, so it could only be used once. There's only one key. Let's see if I can get another one. Lin Feng had such a plan. After all, it was impossible for him to go to just one Void Extremis. There were a total of 7 Void Extremis, and each of them contained endless opportunities and treasures. If he could go to a few of them in a limited amount of time, he would naturally try his best. However, a key was required to enter each void danger zone. Right now, He could only enter once. It's easy to get a key. A 7-star expert might have to worry about it, but a 9-star expert didn't have to worry about it. They didn't have to look for the key that existed in the void turbulence. They just had to kill any 7-star expert to obtain the key. However, this kind of indiscriminate slaughter of the innocent was a bit excessive. Although Lin Feng killed decisively, he had his own principles. He couldn't kill the innocent for a key. Generally speaking, the bigger the spatial secret realm, the denser the spatial energy, and the higher the possibility of a key being born. Lin Feng glanced around. Among all the secret realms in the turbulent void space, the area he was in could be ranked in the top 10 in terms of size and energy. There was an 80 to 90% chance that there was a key here, and there was more than one. In order to enter this place, he had to sift through 100,000 secret realms outside for 3 months before he made his choice. Although he had wasted 3 months, it was worth it. Not to mention 3 years. He could save at least 300 years of 30 years. If an inexperienced expert chose a small secret realm at the beginning, they would have to enter bigger secret realms time and time again to reach the void extremis unless they were very lucky. It was not common for secret realms to collide and even merge. 300 years might not be enough to reach this place from a small secret realm. Experience, the path taken by the predecessors, was indeed very useful sometimes. Look around to see if there are other experts. Lin Feng sped out, his eyes bright. If I can't find other experts, I'll have to change to another secret realm. There were no less than 300 experts who entered the turbulent void space. Among them, 8-star and 9-star experts would enter the void extremis. Hence, they would enter the big secret realms and then come into contact with the void extremis. Hence, there must be many experts in the big secret realms. If there were none, it meant that this secret realm had already collided with the 7 void extremis, so those experts had already left. If that was the case, he would have to find another secret realm that had not collided with the 7 void extremis. After all, the probability of a secret realm colliding with the 7 void extremis twice was quite low. As for Yao Wandi, Lin Feng was not worried. He was an 8-star pinnacle expert. Unlike 7-star pinnacle experts, an 8-star pinnacle expert would be able to survive in the void turbulence. Unless they encountered a 9-star pinnacle expert, they wouldn't be in much danger in ordinary spatial mystic realms. If he encounters a Destiny Tribe expert, Wandi's luck will be too good. Lin Feng smiled. He did not want Yao Wandi to encounter a Destiny Tribe expert, but he hoped that he would encounter one, especially Wu Ergue. He had once caused him to be in a sorry state and almost died. Today, his strength had improved greatly. Naturally, he would take revenge on those who had wronged him and take revenge on those who had wronged him. First Wu Tsong, then Wu Ergue. I am not interested in killing the innocent, but if I see the Destiny Tribe, I will kill as many as I can. Those scums. Lin Feng despised what the Destiny Tribe had done, not to mention now that they were like fire and water. The Destiny Tribe would not be merciful to him, and he would not be merciful to the Destiny Tribe. As long as he saw them, he would directly kill. The secret realm was huge. It was like a boundless land, filled with shockingly rich space energy. Stepping on the soaring light shuttle, Lin Feng flew at 1/10 of the speed of light. He did not use his full strength. For one thing, he could sense it more clearly, and for another, he needed to explore the secret realm carefully. Although only the void extremis had super treasures, this secret realm could be ranked in the top 10, so the treasures it contained would not be bad. It was very likely that there would be superior true treasures. From the information recorded by the Milky Way's human race, there had always been such treasures. Even those small spatial secret realms could produce superior true treasures. It was just a matter of probability. Most importantly, it depended on one's own opportunity and luck. Moreover, even if they were all outstanding treasures, there were differences in their quality. For example, his Wings of Warmth was an extremely high-level superior true treasure. The Brahma given by the clan leader was very ordinary. In terms of power, it was very different. Searching aimlessly, Lin Feng was calm. After all, he did not lack true treasures now. He wanted to find the key and other experts. Oh, after searching for about 10 days, Lin Feng found something. Chapter 2009. It was as if a pure, transparent treasure was floating in the turbulent space vortex. It contained the unique energy of the turbulent void. It was like a perfect crystal, pure and flawless. Rip, rip, rip. The surrounding space was constantly torn apart and reorganized. The turbulent void contained a devouring power. Although the treasure was close at hand, it was not easy to get it. Entering the space vortex, one had to endure the turbulent void. It was a pure space law. Although it could not be compared to a martial artist, the power of nature was not to be underestimated. The devouring power, the turbulent void, and the shattering void were enough to prevent an ordinary expert from getting close to the transparent treasure. Moreover, the treasure itself was changing position with the turbulent void. It was even more impossible to get it by relying on offensive or control-type treasures. Firstly, one did not have such precise control. Secondly, the power needed to be strong enough to resist the space law. With such strength, one could just go in and get it. Swish! Lin Feng's warm wings flashed with black light and entered instantly. The violently fluctuating space was directly split apart by the wings of warmth. The waves of turbulence could not affect Lin Feng at all, even though the translucent treasure was constantly changing. How could it compare to Lin Feng's speed? Kong Tong Mirror. Lin Feng recognized this treasure. It was close to the level of an absolute treasure. It was an excellent soul defense treasure and was very common in the turbulent void. However, it was rare in the space vortex. If I was not in the vortex, I would not have gotten it. Lin Feng smiled. To get the Kontong Mirror, one had to have a space-type treasure like him and be able to resist the turbulent void. Otherwise, one had to be a 9-star expert. Most of the 8-star experts could only sigh when they came here. However, to him, it was just a piece of cake. Let's look around. Lin Feng spread out his aura. Normally, there would be other treasures around such a treasure. As the saying went, birds of a feather flock together. A place that could give birth to treasures was definitely a land of treasures. As expected, Lin Feng soon found many shattered Yuan meteor stones in the surroundings. Yuan meteor stones were very common in the turbulent void space, and they were similar to void crystals. The only difference was that the void crystals were purer and more perfect. Yuan meteor stones had a lot of impurities, but their surface area was much larger. In terms of value, they were not as valuable as void crystals, but in terms of quantity, Yuan meteor stones were much more valuable. The Yuan meteor stones here can be sold for at least tens of millions of void crystals, plus this Kontong Mirror, and the fruit of heaven and earth. Lin Feng was slightly surprised, but then he smiled. Although he wasn't short on money right now, the more treasures he had, the better. At the very least, he would be able to exchange it for some contribution points in the tribe. His previous 500 years of cultivation had emptied out a lot of his family's resources. It was a good opportunity to make up for it. Lin Feng didn't mind. He swept through the whirlpool area of the spatial turbulence for a few days before he was satisfied. I've only been here for less than half a month, and I've already harvested about 500 million void crystals. TSK. Lin Feng smiled. No wonder everyone wants to come in like a swarm of bees. This place is indeed full of treasures. One key, 1 billion void crystals, it's worth it. The key to the void gate was something that even 8-star experts would fight for. Although 7-star experts also wanted it, it was very dangerous for them to enter this place, and the mortality rate was extremely high. Moreover, it was already good for a 7-star expert to have tens of millions of void crystals. 1 billion void crystals was something they couldn't afford unless they had a backer. We're not there yet? It's right in front. Brother Yulong. 2 streams of light flew through the secret realm. One of them looked like a devil with a grayish-black tail behind him. His eyes were filled with a cold light, giving off a bloodthirsty aura. There was an eye-catching symbol of a sword and saber on his green battle armor. He was one of the 8 major powers, extreme lethal. The other expert was much bigger. He had horns on his head and a purplish-green scaled tail behind him. He could fly easily without the help of any treasures. His attainments in wind and space were very strong. Void Dragon Race. They originated from the Void and belonged to the Dragon Race. They were competitors with the Milky Way human tribe. The Void Dragon Race's experts were talented in wind and space. Swoosh! In front, a stream of light flashed. Like a shooting star, it brushed past the two experts, one demon and one dragon. A human. I don't know which force he is from. The bloodthirsty-eyed demon licked his lips. I didn't notice. The Void Dragon Race expert said in a low voice, "His speed is very fast, reaching 1/10 of the speed of light. However, I can't sense his aura at all. He shouldn't be a 9-star expert," the bloodthirsty-eyed demon said. The Void Dragon Race expert nodded. There were 72 experts on the Origin Awakening list. Including those who concealed their names and didn't enter the list, there were about 90 of them. Their basic features and appearances were clear. Although they couldn't see clearly, they could roughly tell from their age, clothing, treasures, and other aspects. He should be an ordinary 8-star expert or a 7-star expert who is proficient in Lightspeed Dao, the Void Dragon Race expert said. The former is more likely. There were many 8-star experts, and many 7-star experts would often break through. Generally, only famous 8-star experts would be remembered. It was difficult for ordinary 8-star experts to remember all of them. Gaga, everyone has gathered at the third continent. It's so lively, the bloodthirsty-eyed demon said. The Void Dragon Race expert said, "There's no choice. The first and second continents have already collided with the Void Danger Zones. In terms of probability, the third continent is now the most likely. I don't know which Void Danger Zone we will collide with. I want to go to the Bloody Corpse Land and the Fallen Gate Desolate Land. Do you think we can choose? We will go to whichever danger zone we collide with." That's right. Haha, Brother Yulong, you are proficient in the Tao of Space. My close combat and assassination abilities are strong. You and I are both 8-star experts. If we work together, we won't be afraid of 8-star peak experts. Even if we enter a danger zone, we can protect ourselves. All right, after we split the Kontong Mirror's treasures, we will move together. The demon and dragon were extremely fast, reaching 1/5 of the speed of light. They soon arrived at their destination. The extremely lethal, bloodthirsty-eyed demon, Soaring Wolf, raised his gray-black tail and stared. It's gone? How come it's gone? It was here not long ago. It's here. The Void Dragon Race expert frowned and looked around. Impossible. Unless it's a 9-star expert, this powerful space whirlpool. The bloodthirsty-eyed demon, Soaring Wolf, sped back and forth. He was shocked and puzzled. It's possible if it's an outstanding space true treasure. The Void Dragon Race expert's eyes brightened. The 3 pairs of wings on the back of the human who brushed past us are very likely to be an outstanding space true treasure. The bloodthirsty-eyed demon, Soaring Wolf, took a deep breath. He didn't hide his greedy eyes as he stared at the Void Dragon Race expert. Yulong, are we going to do it or not? Soaring Wolf licked his lips. Let's go and take a look first. Moreover, he is very likely to be from the Milky Way's human tribe. The Void Dragon Race expert, Yulong, had a cold look in his eyes. Chapter 2010. Fatal Extreme, Void Dragon. Lin Feng stood on the profound light shuttle and scanned the surroundings. When he brushed past Ho Lang and Yulong, they couldn't see Lin Feng clearly, but Lin Feng saw them clearly. After all, there was a huge difference in strength. They're not even close, so how could they walk together? Lin Feng was also curious. Fatal Extreme experts should be close to the experts of Big Dipper and Blue Dragon Auction House. There was no reason for them to be so close to the Void Dragon. After all, the 5 major races and the 8 major forces had never been close. Maybe they know each other in private. Lin Feng didn't think too much about it. After all, this kind of thing happened a lot. The experts of the races had to go out, so it was normal for them to know some like-minded brothers. On the contrary, Lin Feng was very satisfied that he met 2 experts not long after entering this spacious secret realm. In other words, there should be a lot of experts in this spacious secret realm. There's an 80% chance that we haven't met the 7 forbidden void lands. Lin Feng continued to explore. On one hand, he wanted to see if he could find any treasures. On the other hand, he wanted to familiarize himself with the terrain so that he could enter the forbidden void lands faster. As for whether he could meet Yao Wandi, Lin Feng didn't care. As the saying goes, the master can show you the way, but the cultivation depends on the person. Although he wasn't Yao Wandi's master, it was enough to bring him here. If Yao Wandi wanted to become stronger, he had to train himself. Having him by his side would hinder him. Moreover, Yao Wandi wasn't weak. The Green Tree race wasn't weak and was once one of the 5 major races. They weren't inferior to the Void Dragon race at all. Yao Wandi was a rare super genius of the Green Tree race. He was also a top 8-star expert and had an outstanding treasure bestowed by the race. His strength was comparable to a peak 8-star expert. As long as he didn't meet a 9-star expert, he would be safe. Of course, he couldn't guarantee anything. Suddenly, Lin Feng was slightly startled as he sensed 2 auras quickly approaching him from behind. Although he was exploring, he did not let his guard down. After all, this was the turbulent void, the core of the entire wandering planet. He could not let his guard down. The race had detailed records that there was a precedent of a 9-star expert dying in the space secret realm. Them again. It seems like they don't come with good intentions. They should be here for the Kong Tong mirror treasure. Lin Feng thought about it and understood the gist of it. After all, if the other party really wanted to harm him, they should have fought the first time they met. There was no need to wait until now. It wasn't hard to tell from the direction they were going. They had just passed by him and were heading towards a spatial whirlpool. Now they were going back. Clearly, they had discovered that the treasures of the Kong Tong mirror had disappeared. Moreover, he had just come out from there, so it was obvious that he had taken himself. Although this batch of treasures only added up to 500 million void crystals, which is a drop in the ocean for Yang Kai, it was a huge number for an 8-star master. The average wealth of an 8-star expert, including the supreme treasures and weapons they carried, was only slightly more than 300 million void crystals, not even 400 million. 500 million void crystals was already a lot. But the most important thing was that he had never exposed his strength from the beginning to the end, and he was very unfamiliar. He was also not a powerhouse on the Origin Awakening list. Come on, if it's just an inquiry, everyone will be safe. But if they have ulterior motives, Lin Feng's eyes flashed, and he smiled confidently. Although he didn't have the habit of killing innocent people, if there were uninvited guests who attacked him, he wouldn't be merciful. It just so happens that I'm lacking a key. Lin Feng slowed down. It's right in front. Meng Lang's eyes were ferocious, with greed and bloodthirstiness. The Kong Tong mirror treasure is at least 400 million void crystals. His armor, the flying treasure of the foot tower, his weapon, and the wings on his back, that may be an outstanding supreme treasure. If I do this, I'll earn at least 2 billion void crystals. Meng Lang stretched out his sharp claws, cold light shining. Since he was born with an extreme life force, he naturally did not place human lives in his eyes. The number of human experts who had died under his claws was innumerable. He would do what was beneficial to him. Killing innocent people? This world was like this. The strong preyed on the weak. He was born in a pack of wolves, and this was the belief he had always accepted. Let me make it clear first. If he isn't from the Milky Way's human tribe, I won't do anything. Yulong raised his head slightly, the dragon horns on his forehead symbolizing his proud bloodline, and the green scaled tail behind him galloped in the wind. Ha! Meng Lang laughed. Then I hope he isn't. If Yulong participated in the battle, all the treasures would be divided equally, half for each person. But if he didn't participate in the battle, all the treasures would belong to Meng Lang alone, and he would naturally make a lot of money. In Meng Lang's opinion, even if he was the only prey in front of him, it was a sure thing. Yulong's mouth curved coldly. He didn't care about mere void crystals. What flowed in his body was the noble bloodline of the Void Dragon tribe. Sooner or later, he would become a 9-star powerhouse of the tribe. He wasn't that stupid to offend other forces for a small profit. Meng Lang was different. He belonged to the extreme fatal category and carried many lives on his back. But the Void Dragon tribe had a good reputation. Except Milky Way's human tribe. Yulong's eyes deepened, and the horns on his head contained an endless surge of wind, revealing his killing intent. The Dragon Emperor's order: since we've already fallen out, there's no need to hold back. Kill one on sight. See two. Kill two. Swoosh. Swoosh. Meng Lang and Yulong were extremely fast, and soon caught up with Lin Feng. The Yulong landed at the back, its green scaled tail flapping as it stared ahead. At this moment, the flying wolf had already flown out at its fastest speed, its sharp claws tearing through the sky. Its terrifying power directly tore apart the chaotic flow of space. There was no need to talk so much nonsense. The only purpose of an assassin was to kill. Kill the target in the fastest and most direct way, with the most ruthless means. As an extreme, fatal, top-notch assassin, Meng Lang's assassination ability was no joke. From the beginning, he had concealed his aura, and only at the moment of killing did he suddenly reveal himself. Soundless, ghostly, but astonishing combat power. The 8-star pinnacle Meng Lang was not only good at assassination, but also at close combat. Die. Meng Lang's eyes flashed with a cold light. He wanted to see the panicked expression of this human. He loved the pleasure of wreaking havoc, the pleasure of being above the powerhouses, and the fear of these people who were about to die. But this time he didn't see it. What he saw was a calm face, as immovable as a mountain, as if everything was under control. Meng Lang's heart suddenly thumped. His endless assassination experience told him it was very dangerous. That was purely the intuition of an assassin. But now that the arrow was on the bow and had to be released, Meng Lang naturally would not give up. As long as it was not a 9-star powerhouse, he had the possibility of killing the opponent. He had experienced many such assassinations, and no matter how bad it was, he could still preserve his life. As an assassin, the ability to assassinate and escape was essential. Chapter 2011. Whoosh! As Lin Feng's wings of warmth flapped, the space in front of Soaring Wolf became chaotic. The distance between them, which was close at hand, seemed to be pulled apart in an instant. The speed of the chaotic space was too fast, so fast that Soaring Wolf could not react at all. No matter how stealthy he was, it would take time to attack. How can he be so fast? Soaring Wolf was shocked. As a top assassin, he was very clear about the rhythm of attack and the gaps in defense. The human in front of him used it so quickly, like a hunter setting up layers of traps and waiting for his prey to come to him. Soaring Wolf was already regretting it, knowing that he had hit a wall. But as Lin Feng turned around, Soaring Wolf saw the symbol on his armor, and his eyes lit up. That was the symbol of the Milky Way's human tribe. Soaring Wolf was overjoyed. He knew that Yulong must have noticed it as well. Since the other party was from a Milky Way's human tribe, then according to their previous agreement, they would attack together. Alone, Soaring Wolf was not confident, but with Yulong, it was different. The combination of close combat and long-distance space was more than perfect. It was simply flawless. Chaotic space. Then even space will be cut apart. Soaring Wolf was ferocious. Since he knew that there was a strong support behind him, he did not need to be distracted. He only needed to focus on attacking. His sharp claws were blessed by the heavens, and his innate ability was displayed. A giant silver wolf behind him roared ferociously, its sharp claws triggering an arc of dark matter that contained the ultimate law of dark matter. The law of dark matter was traceless and difficult to track. Soaring Wolf gave up on defense and focused all his power on attacking. His innate ability was clearly used to attack the chaotic space. But in front of Lin Feng, the space suddenly tore apart. The law of dark matter was used like a ghost. Die. Soaring Wolf's eyes were full of pride. In his view, the opponent in front of him was already a dead man. Over the course of countless eras, countless experts had died under his blade. The greatest profundity of dark matter was its irregular attacks. But whoosh, Lin Feng only took a small step back, and the claw missed. The movement was very small, but it was just right, as if he knew that the claw would appear at this time and place. How is this possible? Soaring Wolf was completely dumbfounded. He could not understand how his ultimate move had been countered so easily. Even if his opponent was also proficient in the Tao of dark matter, even if he was at the Great Perfection realm, he should not have been able to grasp the trajectory of the Tao of dark matter. His Tao of dark matter had long been perfected, and he had the support of his innate ability. But there was no time for Meng Lang to think so much. Lin Feng's attack arrived in a flash. Flapping his black wings, he directly charged into the chaotic space, and an extremely powerful strangling force swept towards the soaring wolf. Warm Wings was like a general commanding from afar. Everything was under his control. Warm Wings Slash. It contained the power of spatial strangulation and was perfectly displayed by the Warm Wings. With the flying wolf's weak defense, there was no way for it to escape from the chaotic space. However, behind the flying wolf, there was still the Void Dragon race's 8-star peak expert, Yulong. Space strangulation? Humph! He's just using an outstanding true treasure. Yulong, who was proficient in the Tao of space, naturally knew this. Even 9-star experts rarely comprehended the law of space strangulation. It was too difficult. Break! Following Yulong's deep roar, the chaotic space instantly collapsed. A hurricane-like spatial element attacked, blocking Lin Feng's space strangulation attack. The soaring wolf was instantly able to escape danger. He hurriedly retreated, his eyes filled with confusion and shock. Be careful. The soaring wolf looked at Yulong and spoke. Suddenly, a spatial crack appeared in front of him, and an invisible saber appeared in the void. As the sharp saber energy attacked, it was invisible and traceless, but its power was shocking. Chi! As the saber struck, the soaring wolf was directly split into two. The elite armor true treasure was completely unable to block this sky-shattering saber. The soaring wolf's eyes were filled with shock and disbelief. His mouth was agape, but he could not utter a single word. He would actually die here, die in the hands of his own ultimate move. Impossible. The soaring wolf was screaming in the depths of his heart. He wanted to persevere, but there was no turning back. His life was gone, and with a bang, his body exploded and was immediately swallowed by the spatial turbulence. One move, and he died tragically. The soaring wolf. Yulong's eyes widened, and his head exploded. Although he and the soaring wolf were only acquaintances, they were now companions. The soaring wolf was dead, and he was the only one left. The most terrifying thing was that the opponent in front of him had unfathomable strength, easily killing the soaring wolf. One had to know that the soaring wolf and he were both peak 8-star experts, and their strength was almost the same. Although he was slightly stronger, it was only in terms of treasures. Retreat. Yulong's reaction was extremely fast. Seeing that something was wrong, he hurriedly prepared to flee. Streaks of space law were released, and together with the spatial turbulence, the entire land shook violently, as though the world was spinning. He was proficient in space law. Although he was only peak 8-star, the Void Dragon race was no weaker than 9-star experts in terms of space law. Among the thousands of races in the Origin Awakened continent, the Void Dragon race was only inferior to the Destiny race in terms of space law. Whoosh! Wind blow activated. Yulong kept retreating, and the wind element coiled around his body like fairies. Stepping on the wind blow shuttle, he had already increased his speed to 1/3 of the speed of light. This was already Yulong's limit. Unless one cultivated the path of light or the path of dark matter, even a peak 8-star expert speed was not as fast as his. The opponent's speed was only 1/10 of the speed of light. Even if he was hiding, it would be 1/5 of the speed of light at most. He could not catch up to him. Yulong was very certain that he could escape. However, just as he was thinking this, a mountain-like pressure suddenly fell, causing Yulong's heart to tremble. In front of him, that familiar figure had already arrived at some point. Faster than him. Yulong was shocked and almost instinctively launched an attack. His green scaled tail whipped directly at Lin Feng. bringing with it a sharp wind pressure that sealed the surrounding space. You actually hid your strength, despicable. Yulong gritted his teeth, understanding at this point. It was obvious that the opponent could reach the speed of light or close to it, so he was faster than him. Such opponents were the most annoying. They were fast and stronger than others, so they could suppress their opponents. If they were weaker than others, they would escape and no one could catch up. However, Yulong was not to be trifled with. He was a peak 8-star expert of the Void Dragon race and was valued by the Dragon Emperor. Human of the Milky Way, you think you can kill me? Yulong's eyes were full of arrogance as he launched his strongest attack. He had absolute confidence in his attack ability. The entire space shook violently, causing the spatial turbulence to change like a fried dough twist. Chapter 2012. However, it was just an ordinary slash. It was similar to the slash that killed Leaping Wolf. It penetrated the space, turbulence, and pressure. It was such an ordinary slash that had no power at all, but it was just right chi. Blood spurted out from Yulong's neck. Yulong's eyes were bigger than lanterns. Hesitating to prepare, the powerful ultimate move was only halfway executed when it was interrupted. His consciousness disappeared in an instant, and with a bang, Yulong fell into a pool of blood. The chaotic spatial turbulence surrounded Yulong, as if it was burying him. 2 slashes. Lin Feng only made 2 slashes. He killed Leaping Wolf first, and then Yulong. A greedy snake swallows an elephant. Lin Feng took Yulong's storage ring and broke it with his consciousness. He looked indifferent, as if he had just killed an ordinary weakling. I was just short of keys. Here are 2 keys. Lin Feng was very satisfied. In this way, he was basically not short of keys. With 3 keys in hand, he could enter 3 void extremities. Moreover, the turbulence of the void itself would breed keys. With his sensing ability, it would not be a problem to find 1 or 2 more keys. As for those elite true treasures, Lin Feng was not interested in them. They were not very useful to him now. Strange, this Void Dragon guy is quite rich. Lin Feng checked the storage rings of Soaring Wolf and Yulong. The former, together with the elite true treasures on him, had a net worth of about 1.4 billion void crystals, which was considered good among 8-star experts. However, the Void Dragon expert was even richer. He had 3.5 billion void crystals. His wealth was even higher than that of some 9-star experts. Clearly, his status in the Void Dragon clan was relatively high. It was normal. For example, Yao Wandi, the most valued 8-star expert of the Green Tree clan, even had an outstanding true treasure. The value of an outstanding true treasure might be more than 3.5 billion void crystals. The Void Dragon clan was much richer than the Green Tree clan. He's so rich, yet he wants to rob me. Lin Feng didn't understand either. This extremely lethal demon race expert was still manageable, but the Void Dragon race expert already had a total of 1.5 billion void crystals. There was no reason for such an expert to rob him for such a small profit. It didn't make sense. Do I look weak and easy to bully? Lin Feng laughed involuntarily. He had also thought about the grievances between the Void Dragon race and the Milky Way human race, but this was actually not much of a grievance. It was just a competition between the 2 races, and there had been no casualties. It was a literary battle, not a battle to the death. Back then, the battle between the Destiny race and the Green Palm race had been witnessed by the other races. Even if he won, his vitality would be greatly damaged. 2 8-star powerhouses naturally posed no threat to Lin Feng. In fact, their every move was under his control. If Lin Feng wanted to kill Soaring Wolf, he wouldn't even have the chance to do so. He had only just entered the chaotic void to practice. To the current Lin Feng, an 8-star expert was too ordinary. Not to mention 2, even if there were 20 of them, Lin Feng would still kill them all if he really wanted to. The path of dark matter? Lin Feng waved his blade casually. The strangeness of the law of dark matter instantly caused the blade energy to radiate in different directions until it broke through. Although this move was ordinary, it perfectly made use of the law of dark matter. Soaring Wolf's strength was actually not bad. His innate ability was supplemented by the law of great perfection of the path of dark matter. In terms of assassination, his ability was quite powerful. However, there could be a huge difference in realm between the two of them. The demon powerhouse was only at the first stage of the great perfection, but Lin Feng was at the third stage. The difference in combat strength was not much, but the difference in realm was much greater. After analyzing all 100,000 source points, the path of dark matter was no longer a secret to Lin Feng. Sensing the combination of elemental fluctuations, he knew the trajectory of the path of dark matter's attack, where it came from, and where it appeared. He had already mastered all of these. Although the law of dark matter's attack is unpredictable and impossible to guard against, its power is too weak. Lin Feng had borrowed Soaring Wolf's attack method just now. With his path of dark matter realm, he naturally grasped it very quickly. However, it was not very useful. In a battle between powerhouses, the strength of the attack was extremely important. Otherwise, it might not even be able to break through the defense. If it could not break through the defense, what was the use of the strange attack? The most important element of an attack was to cause damage, followed by concealment, ingenuity, strangeness, and so on. Soaring Wolf's attack was an innate ability, but it was different. If Lin Feng relied on the law of dark matter to attack, it would be good if he could unleash 10% or 20% of his normal strength. As for easily killing Soaring Wolf and Yumu just now, he did not rely on the strength of the law of dark matter, but his own strength. As a 9-star powerhouse, Lin Feng could match Shi Dingshan, who was ranked 25th. His combat strength far exceeded that of an 8-star powerhouse. He did not even need to use 10% of his attack to easily kill his opponent. It seems that this place is very lively. Lin Feng slowly increased his speed and continued to explore the surroundings. It was already like this after just meeting 2 powerhouses. It was enough to show the warlike atmosphere of this space mystic realm. It was just as well. After resting for so many years, he could take this opportunity to practice and prepare to enter the void danger zone. He continued forward. With the previous experience, Lin Feng was even more careful. However, this time, he had not met any other powerhouses for a long time. He had been wandering around in the space mystic realm. Some had entered unique and dangerous places, some had gone deep into the space ocean, and some had encountered all kinds of spatial plants. The space mystic realm was very mysterious. Especially in this large space mystic realm, it contained all kinds of strange places and strange treasures. Those who were fated to live there. To Lin Feng, this was very interesting. It felt like an adventure. He had even gained a lot in the space ocean. However, it was only material gains, which did not help his combat strength much. He still had not met Yao Wandi. The space mystic realm was too big. This was definitely one of the largest space mystic realms in the chaotic void flow. From one end to the other, it would take a few months to fly at the speed of light, not to mention exploring the entire mystic realm. Meeting him was a coincidence. Not meeting him was normal. Yuan meteor stones again. Lin Feng's eyes sharpened. He could feel the weak energy fluctuations of the Yuan meteor stones. Although there were many of them, their auras were somewhat weak. Looking around, there were no traces of Yuan meteor stones. Oh, Lin Feng was slightly taken aback. His gaze quickly landed on a strange pile of stones in front of him. The energy fluctuations there were extremely strange. It's a formation. Lin Feng's heart stirred. He casually removed one of the stones. The powerful backlash from the formation was like a gentle breeze shaking a pine tree, unable to affect Lin Feng in the slightest. There's still someone hiding inside. The instant Lin Feng removed the formation, he already felt it. A slightly weak aura and a panicked yet beautiful face were curled up in a cross-legged position. Her large eyes were staring at him in shock, as if she couldn't believe that the spell formation she had set up had been broken. Chapter 2013. Song Dragon Auction House. Lin Feng looked at the delicate woman in white. The mark on her chest was clearly visible. Unlike other places, everyone who entered the void turbulence had a consensus. They were with a mark of their clan or faction on their chest. This way, they could avoid some unnecessary trouble. After all, except for the Destiny clan, the other 4 major clans and 8 major factions would generally not kill each other. Even if they snatched the key, the target would generally be ordinary clans and factions. In this regard, they had a consensus. Although it was not an alliance, it was better than an alliance. But now, this woman in white from the Tsang Dragon auction house was seriously injured. Milky Way human clan? When the woman in white saw the mark on Lin Feng's chest, her frightened expression relaxed a little. She gritted her teeth and struggled to get up, then repaired the array. The blood on his chest had dyed his white robes a blood-red color. Is there anything I can help you with? Because of the Beijing Dragon King, Lin Feng still had a good impression of the Tsang Dragon auction house. The woman in white in front of him was seriously injured, and her strength was less than 10%. Her strength was not strong, and she had just entered the 8-star realm. In the Origin Awakened continent, she was a top powerhouse, but in the Void Turbulence, she was ordinary. No need. The woman in white was still a little afraid of Lin Feng. She looked at him warily and hesitated. You be careful yourself. Lin Feng said softly. Is there any particularly dangerous place here? If there was a place that could seriously injure an 8-star powerhouse, he was quite interested. Generally, there would be some treasures. The woman in white frowned slightly. You don't know? Lin Feng laughed involuntarily. What should I know? Just arrived? The woman in white said concisely. Lin Feng nodded. What happened? The woman in white covered her chest with her hand, gritting her snow-white teeth. Fatal Limit and the Void Dragon clan joined forces. My injury was caused by Fatal Limit's beautiful Cornell concubine and the Void Dragon clan's Chi Chanlong. As she spoke, it was difficult to hide the anger in her eyes, but she was furious. Lin Feng was also stunned. This piece of news was truly a little unexpected. 2 powerful forces joining hands was indeed somewhat inconceivable. According to what he knew, Fatal Limit and the Void Dragon clan should be completely unrelated. How could this be? No wonder. Lin Feng suddenly understood. Weren't the ones who ambushed him just now the Fatal Limit and the Void Dragon race powerhouses? Do you know why they joined forces? Lin Feng asked. The woman in white shook her head. At first, I thought it was just a rumor. It was only when I was heavily injured by them that I understood. If I hadn't been vigilant in advance, I'm afraid I would have been killed long ago. Lin Feng muttered. Did the other forces not react? What kind of reaction can there be? Should we join forces? We've always been lone wolves and have never worked together before. Forming an alliance for the sake of forming an alliance is like hiding a needle in silk floss. It's better to bide our time and not make a move. The white-robed lady looked at Lin Feng and bit her lips. Our Azure Dragon auction house has a total of 3 Dragon Kings. Although 2 Dragon Kings have entered the turbulent void space, their strength cannot be compared to any of the Void Dragons. Lin Feng understood. Even the 8 major forces and the 5 major races were divided into ranks. The first tier was the Z-Way Star Tower and the Destiny race. The second tier was the Fatal Limit, Thorn, the Void Dragon race, and the Milky Way human race. The Azure Dragon auction house could not even enter the third tier. Together with the Heavenly Tea Pavilion and Tian Gang, they were at the bottom. I'm afraid it's to contend with the Z-Way Star Tower and the Destiny race, Lin Feng analyzed. If they acted alone and encountered special treasures, no matter which race it was, they could not compete with the Z-Way Star Tower. Among the top 10 of the Origin Awakened list, the Z-Way Star Tower occupied 2 places, especially Yin Fajia, who was ranked first. He was invincible in the Origin Awakened continent and had never been defeated. Thorn and the Milky Way human race, who were originally in the second tier, could not compete with them unless they formed an alliance. The Fatal Limit and Thorn are secretly competing, while the Void Dragon race and the Milky Way human race are constantly competing. Now that they have formed an alliance, it's just right. Lin Feng could not help but sigh. Not only could they leave their competitors behind, but they could also compete with the strongest Z-Way Star Tower and the Destiny race. As for the third and fourth tier forces, even if they joined forces, they could not pose a threat to them. The Fatal Limit and the Void Dragon race, this was a very smart move. No matter which force it was, the real competition was not between 7-star and 8-star masters. It was a competition between the top forces. Here, this is for you. Lin Feng took out a heaven and earth fruit with a golden glow and handed it to the white-clothed woman. It's useless. The white-clothed woman's immediate reaction was to shake her head. My injuries are too serious. An ordinary heaven and earth fruit would not. Her voice suddenly stopped. The white-clothed woman's eyes widened as she stared at the golden fruit as if she was suffocating. A top-grade healing heaven and earth fruit. Imperial cuisine fruit. The white-clothed woman's eyes were full of disbelief. Yes. Lin Feng reached out his hand, but the white-clothed woman did not take it. He could not help but laugh. Are you afraid it's poisonous? No, not at all. The white-clothed woman's face was slightly red and pale. I don't deserve it. It's too valuable. I can't accept it. An imperial cuisine fruit was auctioned for close to 200 million void crystals. No matter how ordinary it would still cost about 100 million void crystals. Many 8-star masters could not even take out 100 million void crystals. After all, they would use the money to buy treasures to strengthen their combat strength. The white-clothed woman, Yu, had just entered the 8-star realm. Although the key was given to her by the Dragon King, she had spent all her money on treasures to enter the turbulent void. Don't be so wishy-washy. Take it. Lin Feng directly stuffed it into the white-clothed woman's hands. Yu wanted to refuse, but she could not say it. She bit her lips and nodded slightly. She was a little stubborn. Can you say that I'm lending it to you? When we return to the Azure Dragon auction house, I'll return you double, no triple. Lin Feng smiled. No need. If you want to return it to Dragon King Bai Jing. I owe her a favor. Yu's eyes widened when she heard this. She said in surprise, You know Dragon King Bai Jing? Suddenly, he felt that his relationship with Lin Feng had become much closer, and he had become much more familiar with him. Lin Feng nodded. She's a very good person. If not for Dragon King Bai Jing, he would have died in Wu Arai's hands. Although it was Brother Shi who saved him in the end, it was all thanks to Dragon King Bai Jing's help. After all, he did not have a close relationship with Dragon King Bai Jing. Moreover, Wu Arai was much stronger than Dragon King Bai Jing. Therefore, Lin Feng was very grateful to Dragon King Bai Jing. Since this white-clothed female was a member of the Azure Dragon auction house, he naturally could not leave her in the lurch. Not to mention, a mere imperial cuisine fruit was nothing to him. You should recover first, Lin Feng said and left the array. After all, they had just met. He did not want her to think too much. Chapter 2014. Extreme Lethal's beautiful Cornelian concubine. Void Dragons Qi Chanlong. Lin Feng muttered the two names. They were the two powerhouses that the woman in white had said had severely injured her. I've never heard of them. They should be 8-star powerhouses. At most, they won't exceed the peak of 8-star. A peak 8-star powerhouse could easily kill a threshold 8-star powerhouse. However, the woman in white was still alive and only severely injured. Therefore, it was not difficult to deduce the opponent's strength. As a person, I'll help her this time. Lin Feng originally planned to leave, but on second thought, it was not a good idea. Since Extreme Lethal and the Void Dragon could severely injure her once, they could do it again. Moreover, this time, the woman in white might not be so lucky to escape. After all, the other party already had experience. I'll just kill those two and get 2 more keys. Lin Feng naturally did not care about revenge, let alone provoking enemies. Not long ago, he had just been ambushed. With Extreme Lethal and the Void Dragon's insolence, sooner or later, they will arouse public anger. Perhaps their 9-star powerhouses did not expect that after joining forces, the 7-star and 8-star powerhouses below would be so unscrupulous. Although there were no factions in the Void Turbulence, only killing and strength, some things still had to be avoided. After killing too many people, everyone would be angry. Everyone was the top strength of the Origin Awakened continent. If they really went all out, who would be afraid of who? However, where can I find the 2 of them? I don't seem to know them. Lin Feng was also a little worried. His gaze fell on the array, and he frowned slightly. I'm thinking too much. There's no need to look for them at all. In fact, they will come here themselves. She must have some valuable treasures on her, so people are coveting her. Now that she is severely injured and has escaped, these two people must be searching for her. I just need to create a little commotion, and these two wolves will naturally come to me. Lin Feng smiled confidently. It was too easy to create a commotion. The wings of warmth spread out, and the space shattered instantly. Lin Feng directly released the power of the wings of warmth. The space was disordered and strangled, causing the entire space to tremble. Pull one hair, and the whole body would be affected. In the first place, this was a spatial secret realm, and there were many turbulent flows. Lin Feng's action was like pouring a handful of oil on a bonfire, igniting all the flames with a boom, spreading out like a raging fire on the prairie. Inside the formation, Yuro, who had just swallowed the imperial cuisine fruit, shuddered and her expression changed. Her consciousness was connected to the formation. So, if anything happened to the formation, she would be able to sense it immediately. Although the feeling was very weak because Lin Feng had appeared just now, Yuro was even more vigilant. Right now, she was like a frightened rabbit, because she could no longer endure another battle. What happened outside? Could it be that they're here? Panic appeared on Yuro's delicate face. Although the effect of the imperial fruit was amazing, it would take time for her body to recover. Moreover, it was only her body that needed time to recover. It would take even longer for her strength to recover to 100%. Moreover, even if she recovered her full strength, she was still no match for them. What should I do? Yuro was restless. Her charming face was flushed. The imperial fruit was taking effect. The injury on her chest had long healed, and her cells were constantly recovering. Her combat strength had recovered from less than 10% to 30%. She looked again. Yuro bit her lip, her heart filled with anxiety. She had only set up a camouflage formation. It wasn't that she didn't know other formations, but other formations required time, materials, and a large commotion. Right now, it was inferior to a normal camouflage formation. After all, the spatial secret realm was so big that no one would search inch by inch. However, it was hard to guarantee that the formation wouldn't be seen through. Just now, Lin Feng had directly broken through it. Therefore, Yuro was very uneasy, and her heart was beating very fast. Time passed very slowly. Although the commotion outside was weak, the formation could still sense a part of it. It felt like a storm was coming, and it felt like lightning would strike down in an instant. 40%, 50%, 60%. Yuro's strength was continuously recovering. Although it would take a few days to recover to 100%, it would only take a few hours to recover to 80% of her combat strength. After all, her injuries were healed, and she could quickly recover to 80% of her strength by absorbing the energy of heaven and earth. Wait a little longer. Yuro was very nervous. She hoped that this slight commotion would pass quickly, and she also hoped that her strength would recover faster. However, things didn't go as she wished. She couldn't do either of the two things as she wished. Sweat dripped down from her smooth forehead onto her slender eyelashes and dripped to the ground. Yuro gritted her teeth and stood up. She took out her two shiny swords. She had made her decision. She couldn't just sit and wait for death. Go! Almost instantly, Yuro broke out of the formation. After recovering 80% of her strength, she had enough strength to fight. Moreover, she was very confident in her escape methods. If she could escape once, she could escape a second time. Fighting to the end was better than being caught like a turtle in a jar. Whoosh! The moment she left the formation, Yuro felt the entire space shake violently. It was completely different from the feeling inside the formation. She naturally didn't know that the spatial ripples Lin Feng created didn't affect her camouflage formation. He was afraid that she would overthink. However, changes in the environment would always affect the camouflage formation a little. That was why Yuro could sense the slight changes. This slight feeling was completely different from what she was seeing now. One was like a drizzle, while the other was like a downpour. This? Yuro was stunned. Her big eyes looked at the figure flapping black wings in the void. It was very familiar. It was the Milky Way human tribe expert who lent her the imperial fruit. But what was he doing? Creating such a big commotion. He wanted to— It can't be. Yuro's expression changed drastically. She looked at Lin Feng in horror, but then she shook her head. No, no, no. If he wanted to harm me, he could have done it directly. He didn't need to waste so much effort. Moreover, if he wanted to harm me, he wouldn't have saved me. But now Yuro felt that her brain wasn't enough. She didn't know what was happening. Everything in front of her was blurry. She was flustered and at a loss. Things happened so suddenly that it was beyond her scope of thinking. She didn't have time to think. Suddenly, Yuro's heart shook violently, and she sped up. Yuro looked ahead in horror. Her eyes widened. There were two extremely powerful auras coming from the sky, like tigers and wolves. One of the auras was as sharp as a dagger. It was seductive and fierce. Its eyes flashed violently with purple light, and there was a pair of purple-black wings on its back. The other aura wasn't to be outdone. Its green, scaly tail swept, and wind elements surrounded the horns on its head. As it galloped, it even caused the space to change violently. It was the extremely lethal, gorgeous Cornell, concubine, and void dragon Chi Chanlong. Oh no, they're here. Yuro's body trembled violently. Chapter 2015. Her memory was still fresh. This charming and fierce figure was unforgettable to Yuro. Not long ago, she had been seriously injured by these two because she had obtained that thing not long ago. Treasuring a jade ring becomes a crime, especially when she had just entered the 8-star level, and this was not Origin Awakened Continent. The turbulent void had always been filled with endless killing. If a fight really broke out, no one would care which faction you were from. The various factions also had a tacit understanding that they would not bring the grudges of the turbulent void back to Origin Awakened Continent. She was killed because she was not strong enough. Now, they had appeared again. Yuro bit her lips. Her hands holding the two swords were trembling slightly, and her palms were sweating. She was not their match even in her strongest state, let alone now with only 80% of her strength left. Other than escaping, she had no other choice. Biting the tip of her tongue, the blood touched a drop of crystal jade on Yuro's forehead. Yuro was already prepared to escape. At this moment, the surrounding space shook violently and suddenly stopped. It was as if time had stopped at that moment. She only saw the blade light cutting through the sky. Two consecutive streaks of light seemed to tear the entire space mystic realm apart. That terrifying power was like a god descending. It was unstoppable. Gorgeous Cornelian concubine and Chi Chanlong, who were still fierce and threatening, widened their eyes in horror and instantly turned into ashes. Pung! Pa! Like fireworks blooming, the entire space instantly calmed down and rippled. The rainbow bloomed after the rain. The crystal jade water droplet on Yuro's forehead was still shining. She was stunned. What happened just now? Her gaze fell on a youth flapping his black wings in the void. It was the Milky Way's human tribe that had helped her before. Yuro had never seen him before and knew that he was not an Origin Awakened list expert, but he had just killed two 8-star experts in an instant. What kind of strength was needed to do that? Peak 8-star? Peak 8-star? Or Pung? Pung! Pung! Yuro's heart raced as she looked at the black figure. Although the human figure was not tall, he was like an unshakable mountain in her heart. Thinking about how she had doubted him before, Yuro felt her face burning with shame. Although she wasn't smart, she knew what had happened. This young expert from the human tribe of the Milky Way not only gave her the imperial fruit to heal her injuries, but also secretly avenged her by eliminating the source of the problem. She no longer had to worry about the two maggots, Yin Yu-ji and Chi Chanlong. Yuro's face glowed as she felt her heart relax. It is really good. Yuro looked at Lin Feng's figure. Her heart moved. If she hadn't sensed that something was wrong with the array formation and came out to take a look, she wouldn't have been able to see this scene. Whoosh! Lin Feng appeared in front of Yuro. The moment Yuro appeared, he had already sensed it. He was not afraid that she would misunderstand. After all, with the arrival of Yan Yuji and Qi Chanlong, everything would become clear. They're already dead. You don't need to worry anymore, Lin Feng said to Yuro. Then he smiled slightly. It seems that your body has almost recovered. If there's nothing else, I'll take my leave. From the beginning to the end, Lin Feng didn't want to get anything from Yuro. He did everything according to his heart and followed his own will. This was the meaning of self-cultivation. He helped Yuro because she was from the Tsang Dragon Auction House, and he owed the Beijing Dragon King a big favor. Even if he couldn't repay everything, he could at least repay some interest. This way, he felt much better. Wait. Seeing that Lin Feng was about to leave, Yuro hurriedly called out to him. There was a trace of hesitation in her eyes. Then, a silver light flashed in her hand, and a blood-red token appeared. There was a roaring crimson beast on it. Its eyes were filled with incomparable death, as if it was alive. This is for you. Before Lin Feng could react, Yuro stuffed the blood-red token into Lin Feng's hand. A faint smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. She remembered how Lin Feng had given her the imperial fruit. He had given it to her in the same way. Now it was her turn. What a strange token. Lin Feng picked up the blood-red token and studied it curiously. The structure of the token was strange. Even his consciousness couldn't enter it. Obviously, it wasn't a supreme treasure. However, the crimson and lifelike roaring behemoth gave off a different feeling. What's the use of this token? Lin Feng asked curiously. Yuro was surprised. Her beautiful eyes stared at Lin Feng. Have you really just entered the turbulent void? Lin Feng smiled. It seems that something happened before, so I don't know. Yuro giggled. She seemed to be in a better mood. Now I believe you. This is the Blood Python token. There are 7 of them. With this token, you can enter one of the 7 forbidden lands, the Blood Python lair in the deepest part of the Blood Python land. Blood Python lair? Lin Feng had heard of the Blood Python land. The 7 forbidden lands were well known. Each of them contained endless treasures and secrets. After thousands of eras, they could be said to contain the greatest secrets of the entire wandering planet. For example, the sky meteorite turbulent void. After countless eras, only 3 special treasures, the meteorite vortex, had appeared in the turbulent void. For example, the Blood Python land had a unique life form, the Blood Python tree. Of the 12 9-star experts, 1 died and 3 were severely injured before they could kill it. Another example was the Heaven Road Forbidden Land. It was said that there was a perfect inheritance that led directly to the Great Tao. There were too many, and there were only 7 Blood Python tokens. Anyone who could enter the Blood Python lair was no ordinary person. The Blood Python lair opens every 10 reincarnations to give birth to the Blood Python tokens. Yuro said to Lin Feng, there are very few records about the Blood Python lair in the ancient books. I don't know the details. I only know that it's very dangerous. If an 8-star expert enters, he or she will die. Only 9-star experts can barely survive. The premise is that they don't take risks. Lin Feng nodded. Who wouldn't take risks? In other words, even 9-star experts had a high chance of dying. However, the reward was equal to the effort. If one could survive such a dangerous place, he or she would benefit a lot. You want to give this to me? Lin Feng looked at Yuro. To him, this blood-sucking medallion was no less valuable than an outstanding, supreme treasure. If he wasn't wrong, it was very likely that the reason she was being pursued was because of this blood-sucking token. Yuro smiled and nodded gently. You've helped me so much. Of course, I should return the favor. Sighing softly, Yuro gazed at the horizon. Actually, when I first obtained this, I was very happy and excited. I wanted to prove myself and enter the land of the bloody grave. However, after this battle, I realized that I was too naive. I can't even deal with the gorgeous Cornell concubine and 7 Chanlong. Even if I enter the Blood Python lair, I will only die. If I can't grasp the opportunity, I will lose my life. Chapter 2016. Lin Feng looked at Yuro and did not speak. Listening to her heartfelt words, he was quite touched. Entering the turbulent void, she was complacent. After obtaining the Bloodmane token, her luck was off the charts. However, the life and death battle that followed made her see the cruelty of reality. So what if she got the treasure? So what if she was lucky? Without enough strength, everything would only benefit others. She also wanted to enter the Bloodmane lair. However, with her current strength, even if she entered the Void Zone, it would be extremely dangerous. Even taking a step forward would be difficult, let alone entering the most dangerous secret realm in the Void Zone. Even a 9-star expert would fall here. How could she, a martial artist who had just stepped into the 8-star realm, have the ability to survive? It was not too late to see it clearly. If she was full of confidence and entered the lair without fear of death, she would have no way out. Don't you think it's a pity to give it to me? Lin Feng looked at Yuro with a smile. Yuro smiled sweetly. I can't repay you for saving my life. I can't repay you with my body. I can only give you the blood-devouring token. Anyway, I can't find the Dragon King. After this reincarnation, the blood-devouring token will be useless. So, you're the lucky one. Just think of it as good karma. Yuro coquettishly rolled her eyes at Lin Feng and laughed. Lin Feng also smiled and put away the Bloodmane token. In that case, I won't be wishy-washy. I'll accept this gift. Here, these are the storage rings of Yin, Yu Concubine, and Qi Chanlong. The treasures are inside, including a few elite supreme treasures. In total, this should be worth this Bloodmane token. Lin Feng would not take Yuro's Bloodmane token for nothing. Otherwise, he would owe her more and more. To him, the treasures of Yin, Yu Concubine, and Qi Chanlong were not very useful. They could only be exchanged for space crystals. However, to Yuro, these treasures were very precious. Even the space crystals would be of great help to her strength. On the contrary, keeping the Bloodmane token with her would be a crime. Even if she wanted to sell it, she might not get what she wanted. This was not a transaction. The two took what they needed and did not owe each other anything. After chatting for a while, the distance between the two of them was shortened. Lin Feng found out about Yu Ro's identity. She was the 9th disciple of Dragon Queen Bai Jing. They had some history. The Blood Python lair is not simple. Other than the danger of the lair itself, you must be careful of the other 6 experts with the Blood Python tokens, Yu Ro said. As far as I know, 2 of the Blood Python tokens have already fallen into the hands of 9-star experts. Although we don't know where the other 4 are, they might end up in the hands of a 9-star expert. Lin Feng nodded. Some 8-star experts would change the Bloodmane token if they were not confident. There were also some that would be handed over to the clan. Basically, all 7 Blood Mantis tokens would end up in the hands of the 9-star warriors. Yuro's choice was correct. She was an 8-star warrior. If she did not die in the Blood Mantis lair, she would be killed by the other 9-star warriors. Although the treasures were known to those who were fated to know about them, it was naturally better for the other experts to have fewer competitors. It's all right. Lin Feng smiled. He really didn't care about ordinary 9-star experts. Although his current strength wasn't at the top of the pyramid of experts in the turbulent void, it was still outstanding. He was in the middle to upper echelon. There were not many who could defeat him, and even fewer who could kill him. It's all right. Yu Ro's eyelashes moved slightly. She pursed her lips and hesitated. Then she looked at Lin Feng. Can I ask you a question, big brother Lin? Are you a 9-star warrior? Yu Ro's eyes sparkled. She was a little nervous and a little expectant. Lin Feng nodded with a smile. After bidding farewell to Yu Ro, Lin Feng resumed his journey. He learned a lot of information from her. For example, this space secret realm was called Number 3 Land. Among all the outer space secret realms in the turbulent void space, this space secret realm was the 3rd largest. Number 1 Land and Number 2 Land had collided with the Void Impasse 400 years ago and 200 years ago, respectively. Even Number 4 Land and Number 9 Land had collided with the Void Impasse before. The bigger the area, the more it depended on luck. But it was always better to have a higher probability. Therefore, the warriors from all the forces had swarmed in a Number 3 Land. There were many of them. According to Yu Ro, Number 3 Land has about 1/3 to 1/4 of the warriors there, Lin Feng thought. In other words, there were about 100 warriors there. This number was not small. No wonder number 3 land is so big, but I can easily meet other warriors. Lin Feng sped all the way. He spread out his aura and carefully sensed the surrounding environment. It was better to be safe than sorry. Although Yuro was just an ordinary 8-star warrior, she had entered the turbulent void space when it had just opened. Plus, with her identity, the Azure Dragon Auction House had a lot of information about the turbulent void space. For example, the alliance between the Lethal Limit and the Void Dragon clan, the blood-devouring token in his hands, and not long ago, 2 9-star warriors fought over an outstanding true treasure, and one of them died. She also had a general understanding of the situation of number 3 land. There were 3 known 9-star warriors on number 3 land. They were from the Z-Way Star Tower, the Lethal Limit, and the Reincarnation Sect. Compared to the close relationship between warriors of different clans, the relationship between warriors of different forces was much weaker. Like the Milky Way human clan and the Winged Men, the 9-star warriors usually worked together. But the 8 forces were different. The 9-star warriors of the same force might have differences or even be enemies. Therefore, the 9-star warriors usually worked alone. Although the turbulent void space had been open for 500 years and most of the 9-star warriors had entered the void impasse, there were still some 9-star warriors who were unlucky and were still outside. So I'm not too late. At least I caught the last bus. Lin Feng smiled. If he was a little late, it would be hard to tell if number 3 land had crashed into the void impasse. If he was too late, he might not be able to catch up. For example, the blood-devouring lair. The other 6 warriors with the blood-devouring token had all entered. If he went in after 1 or 2,000 years, it would be difficult to get anything. But now there was still a big chance. Number 1 land crashed into the Heavenly Road impasse. Number 2 land crashed into the Heavenly Meteorite Turbulent Flow impasse. Number 4 land crashed into the blood-devouring Supreme Land. Lin Feng nodded. The land of blood-devouring must have been hit before, but it could only be those small lands with an area of 100, 1,000, or even 10,000 square meters. Even if there were warriors on those lands, they were very rare. After all, most of the warriors were gathered on the top 10 or even the top 3 lands. Even if they were lucky enough to crash into the land of blood-devouring, it was useless because they needed the blood-devouring token to enter the blood-devouring lair. There were only 7 tokens in total. Therefore, the blood-devouring lair shouldn't have any 9-star warriors yet. If number 3 land crashed into the land of blood-devouring, that would be great. Lin Feng was looking forward to it. Chapter 2017. Although the 7 forbidden lands were connected, the core of the turbulent void was like a huge magnetic field that attracted the 7 forbidden lands. As time passed, they would occasionally converge. However, it wasn't easy to go from one forbidden land to another. Moreover, every void impasse itself contained considerable danger. Even a 9-star expert could not guarantee his safety. In the past void reincarnation, there were quite a number of 9-star experts who had died in the void impasse. Moreover, the forbidden lands were super huge. Land number 3 was already very big, but it paled in comparison to the forbidden lands. No matter which forbidden land number 3 lands, let's go first. Lin Feng didn't care about wasting a key to the void gate. He had a total of 3 keys, so it was more than enough. Going from one forbidden land to another depended on one's ability, not luck. However, going from a spatial secret realm to a forbidden land was purely based on luck. If one was unlucky, they might not succeed even after staying there for thousands of years. Lin Feng never liked to leave his fate to the heavens. Moreover, even if it wasn't the Bloody Corpse Land, the other forbidden lands also had great opportunities. According to Euro, the center of land number 3 has the most people now. Let's go there. Lin Feng didn't plan to search for treasures. After all, land number 3 didn't have any good treasures. The experts who were preparing to go to the forbidden lands gathered at the center of the land. Firstly, the perception of collision was the clearest at the center of the land. Secondly, no matter where the collision point was, setting off from the center of the land was the most balanced. Finally, a group of experts gathered together. They could exchange information and make friends. When they entered the Forbidden Lands, they could even help each other. Of course, Lin Feng wasn't interested in making friends. If nothing unexpected happens, Yao Wandi should be heading to the center of the land. Although Lin Feng planned to let him cultivate alone, he still couldn't let go. After all, he was the Green Tree race's only seedling. If Yao Wandi died, the Green Tree race would at least sink for tens of thousands of years. They might not be able to wait for such a genius. Heading to the center of land number 3. Finding the way was very simple. Most of the spatial secret realms had one thing in common. The closer to the center, the stronger the spatial fluctuations, and the more spatial elements would gather. Therefore, following the direction of the strong spatial elemental fluctuations was always the right choice. It was very peaceful along the way. There weren't many opportunities or treasures near the center. Lin Feng knew this as well. After all, he was 500 years late. The areas near the center had already been explored hundreds of times. Perhaps there had been treasures before, but now they were all empty. On the other hand, there were still some treasures and opportunities far away from the center that had yet to be explored. After all, land number 3 was quite large. A mere 100 experts would not be able to explore it completely in 500 years. Soon, 10 years had passed. Although there were some small ripples when he first entered, the past 10 years had been peaceful. Even if he occasionally met other experts, he would greet them in a friendly manner and brush past the unfriendly ones. If others didn't provoke him, Lin Feng wouldn't provoke others either. Almost there, Lin Feng could clearly sense that the closer he was to the center of the land, the stronger the spatial energy fluctuations. The land was more stable, just like a scale. The two sides were often tilted, but the center was very stable. No matter how affected it was by the turbulent void magnetic field, there was rarely any deviation. Oh, suddenly, Lin Feng's eyes lit up. The aura was very close. A 9-star expert's aura instantly entered his heart. It must be one of the 3 9-star experts that Yuro had mentioned. As he moved forward, he soon sensed another 9-star expert's aura. At this time, the auras of many 8-star and even 7-star experts surged toward him. Wherever Tian Ho went, the map of the entire area was clearly engraved in his mind. There's one less. Lin Feng approached the center of the land. There were only 2 9-star experts' auras, not 3. In front of Ji Hao was the bottom of a mountain valley. In the center of the valley was a huge sinkhole. Above the sinkhole was a tornado-like space turbulence. Space elements were sizzling like lightning bolts. Amidst the chaos, there was a trace of indescribable mystery. He couldn't get close, but there were many experts not far away. They were staring at the tornado-like spatial turbulence. It was a naturally formed and powerful spatial law. The spatial energy here is strong. In addition, there are unique natural phenomena. Comprehending spatial law is much easier. Lin Feng looked around. There were dozens of experts who sensed this strange natural phenomena. Of course, they were all 8-star experts. The 2 9-star experts were far away. Each of them occupied a mountain. Neither of them disturbed the other. It's peaceful here. Lin Feng smiled. Everyone was cultivating step by step, waiting for land number 3 to crash into the void impasse. No one to make a big fuss. After all, the 9-star experts were here. Moreover, there were so many experts here. Anyone who made a move would definitely cause public outrage. Previously, Yuro was chased because she was too far away from the center of the land. Therefore, the 2 experts from the Fatal Limit and the Void Dragon race were unrestrained. Would they dare to make a move here? According to Yuro, the 3 9-star experts are from the Emperor's Star Tower. They are Fatal Limit and Reincarnation. I forgot to ask for her name. Lin Feng didn't care. He didn't plan to get acquainted with them. I'll find a place and wait patiently. The surrounding experts turned a blind eye to Lin Feng's arrival. They were busy with their own things. Lin Feng was also calm. He liked to keep a low profile. Here, Lin Feng found a mountain that wasn't too high. Although it wasn't as high as the mountain occupied by the 2 9-star experts, the view was good. He could see the spatial tornado in the center of the land. Although his spatial awe level was ordinary, the effect was obvious. For example, the two nine-star experts didn't even look at the spatial tornado because it was of little value to them. It was almost useless. Whoosh, as Lin Feng immersed his consciousness, the black whirlpool spun rapidly. While absorbing spatial energy, it also increased his spatial comprehension to the maximum. Lin Feng focused his eyes and stared at the spatial tornado. It was like a magical whirlpool, and his consciousness merged with it. His pa, la unique spatial law rhythm formed in Lin Feng's mind. His spatial talent wasn't bad, but it couldn't be compared to his light and darkness talents. After all, he cultivated the myriad heaven Tao. He was a powerful fusion of light and darkness. For a long time, he hadn't calmed down and comprehended the spatial law. This was his weakness at the moment. So magical, Lin Feng became more and more engrossed as he looked. His comprehension was like a vine, opening up one after another. His thoughts flooded in. It was a wonderful feeling. Chapter 2018. Wanicham, Magic Flute is back. In the center of the land, on a tall mountain peak, a man in amber armor opened his eyes and looked at the mountain peak that was not too tall. No, it's not Magic Flute. The man in amber armor was slightly stunned and frowned. Newcomer. No wonder he doesn't know the rules. But it's strange. Why can't I feel the strength of his aura? Is there a treasure that can hide his aura? Seems like he's not an Origin Awakening list expert. With his age, he can't be one of those old fellows living in seclusion. Whatever, there should be someone who will remind him. The man in amber armor slowly closed his eyes. On his chest, the unique symbol of the Emperor Star Building was extremely eye-catching. On another tall mountain peak, a man whose entire body was wrapped in white gauze also opened his eyes. His cold gaze landed on the mountain peak not far away and laughed coldly. Reckless brat, you even dare to snatch Magic Flute's residence. Yin Faoyang, that fellow. Isn't he always kind? Why didn't he remind the newcomer this time? With Magic Flute's violent personality, if he sees someone snatching his residence when he returns, it would be strange if he doesn't chop him into pieces. After staying here for a few hundred years, it's boring. There will be a good show to watch soon. The man in white gauze let out a strange laugh and then closed his eyes. The corner of his mouth still hung a sinister smile. At this moment, Lin Feng was immersed in the wonderful meaning of space. Lin Feng had accumulated a lot of space Tao, including space strangulation, space disorder, and other aspects. He had a lot of experience. After all, he had many outstanding treasures that were related to space. Although he only knew how to use them and was not proficient in laws, but just like the 100,000 source points, when one reached the great perfection realm, there would be some comprehension. In addition to the third stage of the black whirlpool, the dense space energy in the center of the land, and the unique space law phenomenon, it was not strange to have some comprehension. Moreover, although this mountain peak was small, it was not ordinary. Although it was small, it had all the vital organs. This small mountain peak had existed for a longer time than the other two mountain peaks, absorbing space energy for countless eras. It had the ability to increase space. Cultivating on this mountain peak, it was easy to resonate with the natural space law in the center of the land. In the center of the continent, there were only 3 towering mountains. From this empty mountain peak, one could see the tornado space laws at the center of the continent, but there wasn't a single cultivator cultivating here. Instead, a group of cultivators were gathered around the center of the tornado space. In truth, this was a bit strange, because that was the residence of Magic Flute, one of the 3 9-star experts. Along with Yin Faoyang and Bai Kuang, the other 2 9-star experts, they had been waiting on number 3 land for hundreds of years. After staying the same place for so long, it was naturally a little boring, so Magic Flute left a few decades ago to go out for a walk. Many treasures could be found at the edge of the continent. The other 7 and 8-star martial artists did not dare to offend the 9-star martial artist Magic Flute, and they knew his temperament, so they did not dare to go up the mountain. But Lin Feng didn't know. Or rather, he didn't care at all. If he really wanted to, with Lin Feng's judgment and reaction speed, it was actually not difficult to deduce. But in fact, With Lin Feng's current strength, he really didn't care about the dangers of number 3 land, so he subconsciously skipped over it. Oh, so it's like this. This is the true form of the space law's laceration. So strong, he could see through it. Lin Feng immersed himself in the comprehension of the space laws. Although he could only see the outer layer of the tornado space laws, he could feel the profound concept of the space laws. What he saw was just a drop in the ocean. The true space law's laceration was hidden in the roaring tornado space laws. It was formed by nature and formed the core of the entire number 3 land. This was the space law's laceration. There are many types of space laws with different levels. For example, shattering and condensing belong to the elementary level, space disorder belonged to the intermediate level, devouring was the advanced level, strangling was the advanced level, and laceration, it was the highest level. It was stronger than strangling. It was too difficult to comprehend the space law's laceration. Even if one comprehended space disorder 10 times, they still wouldn't be able to see the profound meaning of laceration. Even if there was a natural space environment, they could only barely see it clearly. Comprehending it was still a long way away. Even if he stayed here for a full era, the possibility of comprehending it was next to nothing. After an era, the void turbulence would have been closed. However, Lin Feng didn't intend to comprehend it. He was confident but not arrogant. He knew where his ability lay. Comprehending space laceration with just a natural space laws? That was impossible. Besides, instead of spending so much time comprehending it here, it was better to go to the void forbidden land, where the gains would be greater. He didn't need to comprehend it. He could use it all the same. It was because the ultimate ability of Grand Brahma, the superior treasure that he had, happened to be able to tear space apart. In the calming mind realm, Lin Feng tried to cultivate the ultimate ability of Brahma several times. Unfortunately, he always lacked a little feeling and couldn't complete it. Now, there was a chance. Using the ultimate ability Great Brahma didn't require comprehension of space laceration, but at least a certain understanding was required to drive and even unleash the strongest power of the superior true treasure Brahma. In terms of power, the superior true treasure Brahma and the wings of warmth are one level lower, but they each have their strengths. The Tao of space of Brahma focuses more on control and domain, while the wings of warmth is more comprehensive and more focused on attack. Combining the two, it's twice the result with half the effort, and it's stronger. However, although Lord Brahma focuses on domains, his strongest move has astonishing offensive power. Not only does it have the power of domain, but it also has the powerful effect of space laceration. The Wings of Warmth's Phantom and Wings of Warmth Slash are not as powerful as Great Brahma, unless I can cultivate the ultimate ability Dark Wings, unparalleled. Lin Feng knew very well. This meant that as long as he could use Great Brahma, the attack power of the superior true treasure would reach a higher level. I have to hurry up and comprehend it as soon as possible. Although Lin Feng occasionally felt many gazes on him, he didn't think too much about it. After all, he was sitting on a mountain peak and naturally attracted attention. Land number 3 could collide with the void forbidden land at any time. At that time, even if he hadn't cultivated Great Brahma, he had to leave as soon as possible. After all, that was a place that truly belonged to 9-star experts. It had a stronger effect of tempering and improvement. Year after year, the years passed. Lin Feng comprehended space laceration while cultivating the ultimate ability of the superior true treasure Brahma. Soon, 33 years passed. In the center of land number 3, an expert returned. Chapter 2019. Ta! It was a green-skinned demon man with a pair of purplish-black eyes, containing endless darkness. The armor on his body was engraved with streaks of lightning. The lightning elements were extremely dense. On his forehead, 2 slightly curved horns drooped down, covering his black eyebrows, making him look very mysterious. Origin Enlightened list ranked 49, Magic Flute. Number 3 land had 3 9-star martial artists. Magic Flute was only slightly inferior to Purple Star Tower's Yan Faoyang, and much stronger than Samsara's Bai Kuang. If they were to fight, he might not lose to Yin Faoyang, since every 9-star martial artist had their own trump cards and would not easily reveal them. It's Magic Flute. Master Magic Flute is back. Such a strong chi. Master Magic Flute's chi is too strong. The martial artist who occupied the core area of the land quickly noticed and avoided him. Demon martial artists were temperamental. No one knew if he would suddenly start a massacre, although there were many martial artists here, and killing innocents would cause public outrage, but that depended on the person. For a 9-star martial artist to kill people, even if it caused public outrage, they would not dare to speak out. Furthermore, why would a 9-star martial artist be afraid of those 8-star martial artists? Especially Magic Flute, who was ranked 49 on the Origin Enlightened list. He was already a 3rd-tier martial artist and was much stronger than the 4th-tier 9-star martial artists, not to mention the 8-star martial artists. Humph, a bunch of trash. Magic Flute enjoyed the feeling of being looked up at, with respect and a little fear. His drooping horns moved slightly. Magic Flute smiled and swept across the 2 mountain peaks not far away. Yin Faoyang and Bai Kuang are really bored, staying here for 100 years, not even going out to walk. Outside, it is very interesting. Occasionally killing 2 humans for fun, it is not bad. Magic Flute's scarlet tongue licked his lips, as though he was reminiscing about the pleasure. Naturally, he would not start a massacre here and cause public outrage, although he did not care. But as a fatal force, he had to take care of his power's reputation. But outside, he did not need to care. He could do whatever he wanted. As long as he killed all of them, who would know that he did it? Boring. I don't know when I could go to the Void Danger Grounds. Magic Flute pulled on his hands that were intertwined with the demon bones, making a cracking sound. He moved his head, revealing a look of anger. His gaze casually fell on the farthest mountain peak, and he was about to return to his residence to continue cultivating. Suddenly, what? Magic Flute's face changed, his navy blue skin wrinkled. It was extremely ugly. His purplish-black pupils shot out a ray of light. The demon bone's hands clenched tightly. A strong, dark chi suddenly spread out, bringing along a trace of uncontrollable anger. Where did this bastard come from? You dare to snatch my Magic Flute's residence? You don't know your place. Magic Flute's eyes were filled with ferocity. He swept his gaze across his surroundings. Pairs of eyes seemed to be focused on him, as if they were mocking him. He was instantly enraged and roared. What the F***CK are you looking at? Get out of my way. Boom! The demonic flute, Demon Bone's hands suddenly opened wide as he roared ferociously. The violent, dark airflow suddenly shot out like countless sharp arrows, causing the entire ground to shake violently. The surrounding experts hurriedly blocked in a panic and retreated to the side. Each of them was so frightened that their faces turned green. Pung! There was a sudden clap of thunder. A blood-red battle axe appeared behind Magic Flute. Lightning gathered, and a thunder god's shadow flashed in the air, holding an extremely similar battle axe. His eyes were filled with rage, his aura soaring to the heavens. With dragon tiger steps, Magic Flute held the blood-red battle axe. His purplish-black pupils overflowing with lightning stared at the mountain peak and walked step by step. Ta! 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 Like an earthquake, the aura was boundless. If this humiliation was not erased, how could he, Magic Flute, still have a foothold here? Bastard, you F***king don't know how to write the word death. Magic Flute's evil and strong chi had already completely enveloped the entire space secret realm. He wanted to ruthlessly chop the human brat into 8 pieces under everyone's gaze. Lin Feng, who was immersed in cultivation, was suddenly jolted awake. There was surprise between his brows, and he was also slightly displeased. No matter who was interrupted in the middle of cultivation, they would not be happy, especially when they were at the peak of enlightenment. Their thoughts were like a tidal wave, as though they had entered the sprinting stage of a race, but were suddenly stopped. Hua, standing on the mountain peak, Lin Feng looked into the distance, his eyes glinting. The ultimate fatal magic flute? Now, Lin Feng basically knew all the experts on the Origin Awakening list, and even those who had retired long ago, he had heard of them. Of course, he did not know all about the 8-star experts, but there was no need to. Ranked 49th on the Origin Awakening list, one place higher than Fifth Sister. Firefly King, ranked 50th on the Origin Awakening list. Divergent Demon Clan, naturally proficient in the Tao of Thunder Explosion, plus the Demon Clan itself is proficient in the Tao of Darkness. Their close combat ability is quite outstanding. Lin Feng clearly remembered the records of the Milky Way human clan. Magic Flute was a super genius of the Divergent Demon Clan. This is his weapon, the outstanding treasure Blood Slaughter Battle Axe. Lin Feng naturally would not underestimate his opponents, especially those in the 3rd tier of the Origin Awakener list. Every one of them had their own trump cards. Although his current battle prowess was in the 2nd tier, there had been far too many people who had been defeated because they had underestimated their opponents. An outstanding treasure that was compatible with one's talent, after hundreds of thousands of eras of accumulation, had long been mastered. To be able to unleash the strongest power of an outstanding treasure, one's battle power could be imagined. Every outstanding treasure's ultimate ability was quite terrifying. Although Lin Feng had many of them, none of them could unleash their ultimate ability. After all, the accumulation time was too short. Unfortunately, if I was not interrupted by him, I should be able to unleash Brahma's ultimate ability, Great Brahma, in a few more decades. Lin Feng felt that it was a pity. He had already opened that door, and the use of spatial tearing law and Great Brahma's connection were already close to matching. Just as he could start sprinting, he was interrupted just like that. Murderous aura is spreading. Seems like they are here to settle the score with me. Lin Feng did not care. Counting the 2 that he helped Yoro to get rid of, he had already killed 2 ultimate fatal experts and 2 void dragon experts. Now that the 2 forces had joined hands, it seemed like they wanted to send Magic Flute to get rid of him. But how did they know I was the one who did it? On this point, Lin Feng could not understand no matter how he thought about it. He had clearly done it cleanly, and they should not have been able to transmit information. Could it be that they have special abilities like the Destiny race? However, Lin Feng did not know that Magic Flute was not here to settle the score with him because of the 2 ultimate fatal experts, but because Lin Feng had brushed away his face and occupied his residence. Although it was a small matter, it was related to face. If Magic Flute just let it go, he would lose a lot of face. With his status, it was impossible for him to make peace with Lin Feng. Naturally, he would directly use force and use his fist to get back his face. He was going to slaughter this audacious human. Chapter 2020. Magic Flute's return was filled with killing intent. Not only did it wake up the experts who were training in the center, even Yin Faoyang and Bai Kuang, who were on the 2 highest peaks, noticed it. With such a strong aura, it was hard not to notice it. Not good. Magic Flute is angry. Yin Faoyang was slightly surprised. His gaze landed on the mountain peak, his brows furrowed. Why didn't anyone inform him? Although Yin Faoyang was kind, he did not want to take everything on himself. After all, he was a 9-star expert. With his status, he could not possibly go to another mountain peak to inform a newcomer that this was Magic Flute's territory. He thought that with so many experts in this area, there would be someone who would kindly inform the newcomer. Who would have thought there was no one? Everyone is really sweeping the snow in front of their own door. Yin Faoyang shook his head, sighing at the fickleness of human nature. At this point in time, he would not meddle in other people's business. He understood Magic Flute's character. He was already burning with rage, and no one could stop him. If he did not interfere, Magic Flute would definitely fight with him. Although he was not afraid of Magic Flute, but he did not want to hurt his relationship with Magic Flute because of such a small matter. There was no need. Furthermore, he and the human were not related in any way. Helping him was out of friendship. Not helping him was reasonable. It will depend on his own luck. Yin Faoyang closed his eyes. He could not bear to see that scene. Contrary to Yin Faoyang, Samsara's Bai Kuang was watching the show with his hands crossed, his entire body wrapped in white gauze. Bai Kuang loved to join in the fun. The current situation was not interesting enough for him. If Magic Flute goes crazy after killing the newcomer, it will be even more fun. Ha! Bai Kwong laughed dryly. Looking at the human on Mountain Peak, he laughed coldly. To him, the human was no different from a dead person. If he angered Magic Flute, even he would have to flee, not to mention a human kid who had not even grown his hair. If you want to blame yourself for not having a brain. Bai Kwong did not have any pity. To him, this was reality. The weak were prey to the strong, the survival of the fittest. Everyone's gazes converged on him. Even though there were close to 107-star and 8-star martial artists, no one stepped forward to stop him. Just like what Yin Faoyang said, everyone was minding their own business, and no one would offend Magic Flute for a newcomer. In the void turbulence, protecting oneself was the most important thing. He's dead. He's finished. He died without a complete corpse. This human is really brainless. He didn't even think about the fact that such a huge mountain was empty, and he just casually entered it. Can others see such a good place for cultivation? TSK, there's a good show to watch. It's been a long time since I saw Magic Flute make a move. I wonder how capable this newbie is. The group of 8-star martial artists thought to themselves. Seeing Magic Flute approaching them step by step, it was as if a demon king had stepped into this area wantonly, taking whatever he wanted. Who could stop Magic Flute? No. Provoking Magic Flute was a dead end. Sizzle. Sizzle. Endless lightning wrapped around the blood slaughter battle axe, and the thunder god's shadow in the void roared ferociously. Magic Flute's sharp roar was heard, and the battle axe slashed down. The power was strong enough to split the entire mountain. Many 8-star martial artists were envious. They held their breaths, and some closed their eyes like Yin Faoyang. They could not bear to watch. Everyone thought that the newcomer would definitely die. But, suddenly, there was a shocking fluctuation in the void. A ray of light flashed across the void, and the blood slaughter battle axe seemed to have slashed into another world, and its power dissipated. What? Magic Flute was stunned. Before he could react, an even stronger spatial pressure came from all directions. Spatial strangulation? Magic Flute's face changed. The turbulent, dark energy wrapped around his body, and his body appeared in another world like a ghost. His speed was extremely fast, but in an instant, another tyrannical spatial energy appeared. Rumble, the whole area was like a heavy shackle. A 5-colored brilliance appeared in the center of the area, and in an instant, it turned into a halo that spread out and covered the whole area. Outstanding treasure, Brahma. Lin Feng stood at the peak of the mountain and looked down from above. He was like a marshal overseeing the battle as he gave out orders. The wings of warmth behind him flapped, causing even stronger spatial turbulence. The Brahma sword in his hand was already displaying its powerful might. Rage of Brahma. Lin Feng launched another attack. The advanced ability of the outstanding treasure combined perfectly with the warm wings, attack from all directions. Magic Flute, who was already suppressed by Brahma, was suddenly attacked by waves of tsunami-like attacks. The power of the space strangulation was already impressive. Needless to say, in this place, the spatial energy was extremely dense. The power was naturally multiplied. Damn it! Magic Flute's eyes were blood red, and he was furious. He did not expect to be at a disadvantage in an instant. He hated martial artists who were proficient in the Tao of space the most. Although they were not strong, there were many restrictions, making it difficult for him to relax. It was like a giant trapped in a metal cage, and even standing up was difficult. Son of a bitch, you only know these despicable and shameless tricks. Magic Flute clenched his teeth, and the demonic marks on his face became sinister, turning into spots of black light. Wait for me to get close. You are dead. Roaring in anger, a huge black wooden boat appeared in front of Magic Flute, as though it came from the ancient era. The speed was not fast, but it was extremely heavy, making people's hearts tremble. Outstanding treasure, Mo Shue boat. Using the boat to collide, the power was boundless. Boom! Magic Flute held the blood slaughter battle axe and clashed with the Mo Shue boat. Although the Mo Shue boat was pushed back, It was once again trapped in the space strangulation, and the situation was worse than before. Ah! Ah! Roaring in anger, Magic Flute was like an injured beast. His entire body was covered in blood-red light, and the demonic marks on his body were exposed. His eyes had completely changed color and were filled with a cold, killing aura. The surrounding martial artists were stunned. No one would have thought that the arrogant Magic Flute would be defeated from the start. He had not even met his opponent, and he was already in a terrible state. Although he was not injured, he had lost all his face. What a powerful spatial treasure. This should be an outstanding treasure. On the mountain peak, Yin Faoyang's eyes lit up, and he was extremely surprised. Where did this newcomer come from to actually have an outstanding treasure? And his control of the space law is so good. But what a pity. Magic Flute ignited his blood essence and completely exploded. Defense and speed increased greatly, and the space law domain will be hard to control him. With his strong physical body, he can directly withstand the damage and break through the space disorder to get close. Once he gets close, I am afraid I am not his opponent. Yin Faoyang sighed. Chapter 2021. Among the 9-star martial artists, there were those who were good at space attacks, spirit attacks, bow attacks, etc. These were all long-distance attacks, and their control over the battle was relatively strong. If they were able to control the rhythm of the battle, the 9-star martial artists of the same level would lose more than half of their battle power before they could even get close. Some would even be dragged to death from a long distance. Hence, those 9-star martial artists who were good at close combat would have their own countermeasures. Although Magic Flute's method was not smart, it was the most suitable method for his ability. Secret technique, Burning Blood. A powerful secret technique created by the ancestors of the Demon Clan. Although the price of Burning Blood essence was high, it could increase one's battle power in a short period of time. Attack, defense, speed, physical strength, they could all increase in an instant. The fiercer the burning, the greater the increase. Magic Flute would not burn too fiercely. After all, he was only dealing with an unknown human junior. If he used up a large amount of energy to kill his opponent, even if he won, he would be laughed at. 10% burning was enough. Son of a bitch, you want me to burn my blood essence? Go and die. Magic Flute's eyes were filled with anger. The blood slaughterer battle axe in his hand released a blood-red light. To be forced to use his ultimate move by a mere human, he felt deeply humiliated. But the opponent's space control was too strong, and his method to break it was poor, only burning blood. Chi! His body was burning with a blood-red light. The space strangulation could no longer restrain Magic Flute. The blood-red light enveloped him, causing Magic Flute to not be suppressed by the domain. The terrifying power in his roar tore the chaotic space apart. Lin Feng's front was a flat land without any obstacles. Releasing all the restraints, Magic Flute was like a demon god descending to the world, invincible. He already had the absolute upper hand. Killing the ant-like human in front of him was as easy as pie. He only needed to chop his axe down, and he would be cut into pieces. Still not enough. Lin Feng's expression was still calm. From the start to the end, he had not displayed his true strength. He only used Magic Flute to test his space control ability. In these 500 years of training, he had not only improved his blade techniques and comprehension of the 100,000 origin points, a few outstanding treasures, especially the Wings of Warmth, Brahma, and Mo Shue Boat. Other than the ultimate ability, he had already mastered the rest. The combination of the outstanding treasures, although he could not display the ultimate ability, but it was enough to match. But it was still unable to stop Magic Flute. As expected of the 49th ranked expert on the Origin Awakening list, Lin Feng sighed softly in his heart. He also somewhat understood the reason why he had failed at the last moment. It was actually very simple. His cultivation of space was too weak. The use of an outstanding true treasure had a lot to do with one's spatial cultivation. It was just like a sword. Even if one did not know any swordsmanship, the difference in power between an adult's hand and a child's was like heaven and earth. It was the same for outstanding, true treasures. The higher one's spatial cultivation, the easier it would be to control it, and the more powerful it would be. Moreover, the cultivation of space directly affected the use of ultimate abilities. For example, Brahma's great Brahma required the comprehension of the spatial laws to tear. For example, Radiant Wing's ultimate ability, Unparalleled Dark Wing, not only required the spatial laws, it also required the laws of darkness. Without true comprehension of the laws of space, even if he could use it, he wouldn't be able to unleash its full power. There's no lack of spatial secret realms in the turbulent void space. The spatial energy here is rich, and there are many spatial treasures, far more than in the Destiny world. My spatial Tao can be improved greatly here. Yes, pay more attention to this aspect. Lin Feng's thoughts turned, but the battle was not affected at all. In an instant, his wrist turned, and the Peric demon blade appeared in his hand. As the dark demonic patterns shone brightly, the Peric demon blade seemed to come alive. Without needing to absorb blood, the Peric demon blade could unleash more than 95% of its power. Because the current Lin Feng already had the ability to completely control the Peric demon blade. Thousand obscuring heavenly blade, tears of chaos. Facing the blood-red magic flute, Lin Feng did not hesitate to use his blade. With the 99% realm of Blade's End, he was extremely decisive. The moment he attacked, the entire space seemed to stop. Only the shocking blade shadow was left. The black element of darkness crazily condensed, completely overshadowing Magic Flute. What? Magic Flute was shocked, his eyes wide open. He was not good at axe techniques. The demon race had never been good at comprehension of the realm. They were good at the path of strength. Together with the demon race's strong physical body, they could be said to be successful. Especially after burning blood, his strength and attack had increased significantly. But at this moment, pong! In a direct collision, Magic Flute felt his body tremble violently. The hand holding the battle axe instantly cracked. The tyrannical strength of the opponent along with the dark energy surged, forming a terrifying impact. What kind of power is this? Magic Flute was shocked. He could not believe it. His eyes were full of shock. The strength of a human could be so strong. As Lin Feng used his blade techniques, he was sure that the human in front of him was a 9-star expert. But he did not expect the opponent's attack to be so strong. The opponent's strength was not weaker than his. The realm of blade techniques and the power of precepts completely suppressed him. The only thing he was strong about was this outstanding treasure Bloody Slaughter Battle Axe. But the suppression in all aspects made it difficult for the Bloody Slaughter Battle Axe to unleash its full power. It was as if he was facing an insurmountable mountain. Magic Flute's face was extremely ugly. As he retreated, he panicked. Who is he? Magic Flute screamed in his heart. His mind was in a mess. As far as he could remember, he had never seen such a powerful human before. Ashes of ashes. Lin Feng did not give Magic Flute any chance at all. After the powerful tears of chaos, his body moved forward like a ghost, and the ashes of ashes slashed down. Although Magic Flute's strength was strong, as a 9-star expert, Lin Feng's body was not inferior. It was even stronger. All along, Lin Feng's physical strength was beyond the level. Chi, the blade of sacrifice, was as fast as lightning. Magic Flute's mind was in a daze. He hurriedly tried to block, but the dark aura was too fast. He could not react at all. He only felt a sharp pain in his heart. His left arm was neatly cut off, and blood spurted out. Magic Flute suddenly revealed a ferocious expression. The blood-red light shrouding him became denser. Human, roaring hysterically, Magic Flute's heart was filled with mixed emotions. Humiliation, regret, anger, fear. He felt a deep fear from the bottom of his heart. This inconspicuous human in front of him was very scary. His whole person suddenly turned into a blood-red flower. Like a firework, it exploded. Waves of blood spread out, permeating the air. The smell of blood was extremely heavy. It made people feel nauseous. Magic Flute disappeared. Escaped. Lin Feng was also stunned. He laughed involuntarily. This guy looked powerful, but his guts were smaller than a rabbit. He was a coward. The battle had just begun, and he escaped? Chapter 2022. Complete silence. The air was filled with the color of blood, reflecting the shocked faces of the strong warriors. They were all dumbstruck, as if they were about to suffocate. Looking at the battle on the mountain peak, they could not believe that this was the end. The wanton Magic Flute, the insufferably arrogant overlord, came aggressively, but ran away with his tail between his legs. What happened? So strong. Yin Faoyang looked at the distant figure of Lin Feng in shock. Although he could only feel a trace of aura, he had witnessed the entire battle with his own eyes. From the ability to control space to the final close combat, that unknown human youth had displayed a frightening power and completely oppressed Magic Flute. Someone as strong as Magic Flute, ranked 49th on the Origin Awakening list, could not even find a chance to get close to him. Even if he used his secret technique, Blood Ignition, to find a chance, he was defeated in a direct confrontation. This human, his close combat ability, is actually stronger than Magic Flute after burning his blood essence? Yin Faoyang was stunned. He did not know that Magic Flute had only burned 10% of his blood essence, so he was at a disadvantage after the battle. If Magic Flute had given his all from the start, he might not have been able to win against Lin Feng. He would not have been defeated in 2 or 3 moves, and even his arm was cut off. Since when did the Milky Way's human clan have such a terrifying newcomer? Yin Faoyang looked deeply at the mark on Lin Feng's chest. He was shocked and felt a trace of threat. It was the first time he looked at this newcomer, a newcomer who might be stronger than him. He came from the Milky Way's human clan. On another mountain peak, Bai Kuang had already retracted his head, revealing a look of fear. In his mind, the battle just now was still very clear, and it made Bai Kuang's mouth dry. Damn, what kind of monster is this human? Even someone as strong as Magic Flute had his arm cut off in close combat, and escaped. Bai Kuang felt suffocated, and he could not breathe. This human youth's strength was far beyond his imagination. Luckily, I did not provoke him. Otherwise, I would be dead. Boss was right. There are crouching tigers and hidden dragons in the void. We cannot underestimate any opponent, especially opponents whose aura cannot be sensed. Bai Kuang looked at the silhouette in the distance with deep fear. I'll pay him a visit later and get to know him. When we enter the forbidden land of the void, we might need his help. Bai Kuang disdained those 7-star and 8-star powerhouses as if they were ants. However, Bai Kuang didn't dare to offend those who were stronger than him. If he could make friends with them, he would. If he couldn't, he wouldn't offend them. That was the way to survive. Amazing. Did you guys see it just now? Magic Flute seems to have lost his arm. I saw it very clearly. After exchanging blows, Magic Flute was completely at a disadvantage. He was defeated by the first saber strike, and he suffered a crushing defeat in the second move. He fled without a trace. As an expert ranked 49th on the Origin Awakening list, he did not even care about his face. Don't laugh at Magic Flute. He is wise to protect himself. He is also smart. He knows that he has provoked someone he should not provoke. That's right. The difference in strength is too great. It's like an adult beating a child. All the 8-star powerhouses were discussing this battle. Those who could enter the chaotic void were not ordinary people. They could see the battle clearly. Furthermore, from the beginning to the end of the battle, they could see it clearly. Do you know who that master is? How would I know? There is no such expert on the Origin Awakening list. He might be one of those retired Origin Awakening list experts. That's impossible. Those retired powerhouses are all very old. This lord is clearly very young. I'm guessing that he's a supernova who just entered the 9-star realm. Just entered the 9-star supernova? He can easily defeat Magic Flute, who is ranked 49th on the Origin Awakening list. At least he has the strength of the top 40 on the Origin Awakening list. Otherwise, how could he win against Magic Flute? And I think so too. Maybe some retired expert ate some heaven-defying fruit and regained his youth. That's possible. Didn't a face-defying fruit appear before? It's super powerful. Success in one battle. Lin Feng's reputation rose. He even had a resounding name, Demonic Blade King, because Lin Feng became famous by defeating Magic Flute, and also because Lin Feng himself cultivated the Tao of Darkness. He contained a shocking, dark demonic qi, and his body was stronger than the Demon Clan. Demonic Blade King's name was like thunder in the number 3 land. Compared to Yin Faoyang and Bai Kuang, he was much more famous, even if Yin Faoyang's Origin Awakening list ranking was above Magic Flute. But the powerhouses all believed that Demonic Blade King's strength was above Yin Faoyang. Yin Faoyang did not refute. Not long after Lin Feng defeated Magic Flute, he and Bai Kuang went to visit Lin Feng. Such a powerhouse had to be befriended. One more friend was better than one more enemy. Although Lin Feng did not have the intention to befriend him, the other party treated him sincerely and welcomed him with a smile. He could not possibly chase him away. Furthermore, everyone was on the number 3 land, and they were all 9-star powerhouses. There was no harm in helping each other. In comparison, Lin Feng had a better impression of Yin Faoyang. He was cultured and refined, and did things openly and honestly. As for that Bai Kuang, he felt that he was ordinary. Lin Feng did not like this kind of bootlicker. Even if his strength was not bad, he did not have the heart of a powerhouse. Demonic Blade King. Lin Feng laughed at the nickname. Not bad, just that it sounded a little scary. Hashtag 3 land in a gloomy cave. Drip, drip. Water droplets fell on the wet ground. The moss above happily absorbed the water droplets, reflecting a blood-red figure. At this time, he was curled up in the depths of the cave, his eyes sinister and broken. Li, thump. His body made an unpleasant sound. His bones and blood squirmed like a group of maggots. New flesh and blood slowly grew from his broken left arm, like a gecko. Hoochie. His entire arm was regenerated, revealing a disgusting mucus. His skeletal fingers made a creaking sound. Magic Flute was panting heavily, his face extremely pale, but his eyes were filled with hatred and anger. Who? Phew! Magic Flute clenched his teeth, as though he was a demon. He did not care if he was injured. He cared more about his face. To think that he, one of the top 4 deadly hands, suffered a huge loss in front of an unknown human kid, chopped off his arm, escaped without a trace. Now that the news had spread, his face was gone. What a humiliation. Magic Flute, lost his reputation. Son of a bitch, you wait. Even if I have to wait for thousands of years, I will definitely take my revenge. I want you to die without a burial ground. Magic Flute's eyes were blood-red. His roaring voice reverberated in the cave. Chapter 2023. After the battle with Magic Flute, Lin Feng settled down in the center of number 3 land. He observed and comprehended the natural scene in the center of the land and comprehended the space laceration law. However, the difficulty of comprehending the space laceration law was no less than that of ordinary law perfection, especially the space laceration law, which was an extremely high-level law. Lin Feng did not intend to fully comprehend it. As long as he could grasp a little bit, it would be enough for him to use the ultimate ability of the extraordinary Brahma treasure. Before Magic Flute came, he had already found the path. But now he had to find it again. It should save me a lot of time. After walking the path once, he would be more familiar with it. Moreover, Lin Feng's comprehension was quite outstanding. 12 great Tao of origin, all 100,000 origins were analyzed and comprehended, making it much easier for him to walk the path of the space laceration law. The profound meaning of the law was formed by 100,000 origins in a unique structure. Even if one did not have a deep understanding of the law, they could use 100,000 origins to experiment. Great Brahma was like that. It took him 33 years to find the path, but this time it only took him 7 years. His luck was not bad. Soon, Lin Feng was immersed in cultivation. As for when number 3 land would collide with the Void Extremists, he was not worried. He only needed to wait patiently. Anyway, it was only a matter of time. It could take a few decades or a few centuries. And he, at most 100 years, would be able to grasp the ultimate ability of the extraordinary Brahma treasure, Great Brahma. Year after year, time flew by. Although Lin Feng was in the midst of comprehending, there was still a trace of consciousness left outside, paying attention to the movements of the Third Land. It was impossible for him to turn a blind eye to it. Although Yin Faoyang and Bai Kuang would inform him if anything happened, Lin Feng was more used to relying on himself. 100 years was like a day. A few decades passed. There were more 8-star experts in the center of the land, and fewer 7-star experts. In comparison, 7-star experts were not very interested in entering the Void Extremis. Moreover, most of those who entered the Void Turbulence were 8-star experts. Yao Wandi had also arrived. With his strength, there were not many experts in number 3 land who could pose a threat to him, including other experts. Just like the Deadly Limit and Void Dragon experts who attacked Uro previously. If it was Yao Wandi who got the blood-devouring token, they would not dare to have such thoughts. Everything depended on strength. Lin Feng didn't meet up with Yao Wandi. After all, he was at the critical juncture of his cultivation. Moreover, he wasn't in any danger. The real danger would come after he entered the Void Danger Zone. Right now, he was just warming up. So, this is Great Brahma, with the spatial tear as the axis and the Brahma domain as the foundation. The combination of 100,000 source points should be like this. No, it should be like that. Or it should be like this: the operation of the entire law drives the Brahma domain. Combined with the wrath of Brahma, it becomes Great Brahma. Because of the existence of the spatial tearing law, the power of the Brahma heaven's wrath and the Brahma heaven domain has been greatly enhanced. Adding them together, I'm afraid their combined power is more than 10 times stronger than the two combined. This is the ultimate ability. Lin Feng sighed. It wasn't just a combination. Instead, it was breaking them down into parts, transforming them into new abilities and a new power system. This was different from the coordination of moves. One still needed to expend energy to coordinate in time to execute. One only needed to use one move, and that would be enough. Great Brahma. I understand now. This is the secret behind the operation of Great Brahma. Lin Feng smiled. The outstanding Brahma in his hand shone brightly, and the spatial tearing law operated. Although Lin Feng didn't understand the structure of laws, with a combination of 100,000 source points, he forcibly made the outstanding Brahma let out a loud cry. Rumble, the entire mountain was enveloped by a powerful spatial energy, and a bodhisattva phantom appeared in the void, sitting cross-legged. The bodhisattva's voice floated in the Brahma domain, and halos spread out like a tide. Pa! 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 Brahma heaven's wrath attacked in the domain, like a giant tearing the space apart. Every thunderous roar had the power close to the 9-star threshold. If they attacked together, the power was unimaginable. However, this required a strong enough law comprehension and control. With my current ability, I still can't unleash 100% of Brahma's power. At most 90%. Lin Feng knew that there was still a difference between true comprehension of the spatial tearing law and true comprehension. However, even if it was 90%, the power was already extraordinary. If Magic Flute fell into Great Brahma that day, I'm afraid I couldn't even escape. Lin Feng was very satisfied. After nearly 100 years of cultivation, he finally grasped the use of Great Brahma. He had saber techniques for close combat, and he had soul control attacks for long-range attacks. Only his domain control was slightly weaker. However, he had warm wings previously, so he wasn't afraid of the opponent's domain restriction. But now, he could use Great Brahma to restrict the opponent. If I spar with Brother Sure again, I should be able to win, right? Lin Feng smiled, not daring to be sure. After all, it was just a spar. Whether Brother Sure had a trump card or not was still unknown. However, there was no doubt that because of the mastery of Great Brahma, his strength had increased significantly. When he entered the Void Extremis, he would be more confident. I wonder when I can really bump into it. Which of the 7 Void Extremis will I bump into? Lin Feng was also curious and expectant. The meteorite turbulent extremis? The land of the full moon? Or the fallen palace? If only I can bump into the land of bloody marrows. Lin Feng smiled. He had the bloody marrows token. Of course, He hoped to bump into the land of bloody marrows. It would save him the trouble of finding a way out. However, this was not something he could decide. He could run into any one of the 7 void deadlands. The probability was basically the same. At the center of number 3 land, the core area, a group of experts was busy with their own cultivation, comprehension, and meditation. Suddenly, they felt a huge fluctuation. Shocking spatial energy appeared with a loud bang. They were so shocked that their eyes widened. What happened? We bumped into the void extremis. No, it's not. It was just a spatial fluctuation. The land itself didn't shake. It seems to be coming from that mountain, the mountain where demonic Saber King is. What a terrifying spatial energy. Oh my God, look, what kind of power is this? Space tears. 9-star attack power. So many spatial tears burst out. All the 8-star experts gathered their gazes. They felt a chill down their spines and cold sweat drip down. They saw dozens of spatial tears appearing like hurricanes. It was almost the same as what they were comprehending, but there were so many of them. Fortunately, the attack shrouded the mountain and didn't pose any threat or impact. Otherwise, once the attack fell, no matter how many of them there were, they wouldn't be able to escape death. It was too terrifying. Chapter 2024. Demonic Blade King is so scary. Needless to say, didn't you see Magic Flute running away? If not for the disparity in strength, would Magic Flute be able to escape? From the looks of it, Magic Flute is actually very smart. Just now on a mountain peak, it was undoubtedly a space domain array. Over 10 spatial tears exploded in all directions. If Magic Flute was trapped in the space domain, he would be exhausted from running around. I'm afraid he would not even be able to save his life. Demonic Blade King is really powerful. Discussions were everywhere, the 8-star martial artist side. Looking at the small mountain peak, they were filled with respect and worship, but also fear and envy. In the crowd, Yao Wandi was among them. Slightly raising his head, Yao Wandi's face was filled with pride. He had been here for many years and had made a few friends, so he was clear about what happened. Others might not know, but he knew Demonic Blade King was Master Lin Feng. No matter where, Master Lin Feng was the most dazzling one. I will definitely become a super strong martial artist like Master Lin Feng to protect the clan. Yao Wandi's willpower was firm, his fighting spirit was high. Looking at the small mountain peak, his heart filled with respect. Another 36 years passed. It's here again. Demonic Blade King is testing the power of the domain array again. It's getting scarier every year. The last time I saw it, my heart was beating like a drum. If I really fell into the domain array, I'm afraid I would be smashed into pieces. Haha, no need to worry. Although Demonic Blade King's name is not nice, I heard that he is a good person, never killing the innocent, and will even help when he sees injustice. Really? That's impossible, right? Yuro said it. Brother Wandi also mentioned it to me. They all respect Master Lin Feng very much. I think so too. When Demonic Blade King was not around, Magic Flute was arrogant and despotic, temperamental. We could only tremble in fear, unlike now. That's right. It's a pity everyone went their separate ways after reaching the void danger zone. Wait, that's not right. Why do I feel the ground shaking? There seems to be a huge suction coming from outside. Hiss. What a terrifying power. What's going on? Is this Master Demonic Blade King's new move? No, idiot, we hit it. It's the void danger zone. Rumble. With a violent rumble, the entire continent was like a meteor crashing into a planet. The spatial energy fluctuated violently, and the earth quaked. A boundless suction force came from all directions, and the surrounding environment changed instantly. Chi. The natural scenery at the center of the continent instantly changed. The hurricane-like space energy resonated with the shaking of the earth. The space around the core was torn apart. The hurricane-like space energy made ear-piercing noises. Every rotation of the hurricane-like space energy had a strong, tearing force. Chi! Bang! Chi! It was as if a sharp saber had slashed across, cutting the surrounding space into pieces. Whoosh! The spatial mezzanine was torn apart. The tearing hurricane, which was originally extremely far away, was like a ferocious beast that had escaped from its cage. It let out a monstrous roar, causing the ground, which was already shaking nonstop, to tremble even more violently. Land number 3 crashed into the void forbidden land. However, the 8-star experts on land were only happy for a few seconds before they fell from heaven to hell. Their hearts were cold. As soon as the terrifying tearing hurricane appeared, it directly swept away the 3 nearest 8-star experts. Chi! In an instant, the 3 auras disappeared without a trace. The ultimate treasures, weapons, and storage rings of the 3 experts could be vaguely seen in the hurricane, but nothing else could be seen. Whoosh! The tearing hurricane expanded instantly. The boundless tearing force was no longer restrained at this moment. It suddenly exploded, and with a shocking suction force, it swept away another 3 8-star experts in an instant. Their reaction was too slow. Run! Suddenly, there was a fearful shout, and it shook the hearts of all the 8-star experts. They hated that their parents did not have 2 more legs and could not run fast enough. What a joke! That was a natural phenomenon caused by spatial tearing laws. The strength of heaven's might was comparable to that of a 9-star expert. Moreover, it was not an ordinary 9-star expert. Fighting against heaven was simply courting death. The strength of heaven's might was not something they could withstand. The tearing hurricane, which had just torn apart 3 8-star experts, expanded again and again. Every rotation brought with it a shocking suction force that swept away every expert at the core. It's over. These people are dead meat. Damn it, I don't want to die. Those 8-star experts who were slower to run were pale. They could already feel the terrifying pressure behind them. It was as if a ferocious beast had chased after them, smelling the stench of blood, and wanted to devour them. They could not avoid it at all. Fighting was like hitting a rock with an egg. The Grim Reaper had almost arrived. At this moment, whoosh! A phantom that looked like a bodhisattva appeared in the void. The surrounding space elements spun rapidly and turned into a huge array of heaven's might. It suddenly fell from the sky and precisely covered the tearing hurricane. Whoosh! Chi! The 2 forces instantly collided violently. It was the same tearing space, but with different carriers, different powers, and different characteristics. In terms of power, heaven's might was naturally stronger. However, one was controlled by someone, and the other was just a hard, dead object. Great Brahma! Lin Feng stood in the void and looked down. Yu Rou, Yao Wandi, and other familiar figures were retreating. They were very safe now. After all, the tearing hurricane also had a tearing range. As long as they put some distance between them, they could basically ensure their safety, as expected of a pure, tearing space. Powerful. Lin Feng relied on an outstanding treasure to contend with it. The same combination of 100,000 source points. The difference was obvious. The difference between comprehending and not comprehending is very big. Unfortunately, it's too difficult to comprehend space tearing in such a short time. Lin Feng could not even comprehend ordinary space laws, let alone jump to comprehending space tearing. In the entire Origin Awakening list, those who comprehended space tearing were few and far between. The difficulty was too high. However, this did not affect his victory in this battle against nature. Heaven is not invincible. Only I can never defeat myself. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. Multiple tearing space tearing, combined with Brahma's wrath, were used together with the Brahma domain. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Several spatial tearing attacks combined to form an even greater attack power. The continuous bombardment soon weakened the tearing hurricane. Then, like a raised hand blade, the tearing hurricane was directly shattered. Hua! Great Brahma retracted. Lin Feng floated in midair and disappeared from the tearing hurricane. The surrounding 8-star experts looked over in shock, as if they were looking up at a god descending. Demonic Saber King. It was him who had saved them. I don't know which void land I bumped into. Under everyone's grateful gazes, Lin Feng did not stay. He instantly sped off in the direction he sensed the aura,